Good evening. Today is Monday, May 14th, 2018, and we're here for the Cabarrus County Board of Education business meeting. I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll now have our opening ceremony. Please rise for the presentation of colors by the J.M. Robinson High School Air Force Junior ROTC.
Color guard, halt, left, face, freeze, and colors. Colors, post. Right, face, forward, mark.
Thank you. You may be seated. I'd like to give the students tonight a round of applause. That was an exceptionally beautiful rendition.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kirby Treadway, and I'm the choral director here at Hickory Ridge High School. Good evening. My name is Kirby Treadway. I'm the choral director at Hickory Ridge High School. This is the Hickory Ridge High School Chamber Choir that performed this evening. We have Lillian Rowland, soprano, Brooke Harris, soprano, Shelby Moss, alto, Lily Schroeder, alto, Corey Sweet, tenor, Ella Parker, soprano, Rain Antrim, soprano, Jonathan Long, bass, Isha Batnagar, alto, Keenan Haywood, tenor, Anderson Rains, soprano, Sarah Edwards, alto, Joshua Scott Schilling, bass, Jaden Young, soprano, Sydney Kennedy, alto, Jessica Benson, alto, Andrew Kahn, tenor, Callie Teague, soprano, Michele Massa, tenor, Rebecca Mole, tenor, Jake Schilling, bass, and Emmanuel Levon, bass. Thank you.
I'd like to also thank the junior ROTC from Jam Robinson. The carrying the U.S. flag was Cadet Major Avery Haynes. North Carolina flag, Cadet Technical Sergeant Nathaniel Miller. Guarding the colors, Cadet Major Bryce Punsalin and Cadet Senior Master Sergeant Scott Johnson. The cadets are instructed by Lieutenant Colonel Scott Rose, United States Air Force retired, and Master Sergeant Mickey Kistler, United States Air Force retired. So that was always so nice to have that in the chamber choir. I need to find it when they do a concert. That was very impressive for just standing in a group and not even on a choral dais. Like to welcome Deputy Thousand back in the corner there. He is the SRO at Mount Pleasant Middle School. Thank you for being here. And board members, I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. And I do want to note that there is one policy that was on consent and was moved to action today because of a council recommended update. So it's actually on the agenda that you have, but just so that you see it. So motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Dr. Kirk and Mr. Harrison, seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes 6-0. Next, we will start with our recognitions. And I actually think, I don't know if I'm missing a page. I am missing a couple pages here. I need to go to a different copy. I have another copy, sorry. I just printed one at home and apparently it skipped printing a few pages. Sorry about that. So we'll start with the recognitions, and first we'll have our HR director, or actually assistant superintendent, Glenda Jones.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. I'm excited to introduce you to yet another outstanding teacher in our school system. As you know, tonight's recognition is made possible by the generosity of Hilvish Ford. Mr. Vaughn could not be with us tonight, but as always, we want to express our gratitude to him and to Hilvish Ford for sponsoring this recognition program and for their support and partnership. Our Hilvish Ford Teacher of the Month for May is Chamisi Kogo Masilla. So Dr. Kogo Masilla, would you, your family, and any members of your school's administrative team who are here tonight, please come forward. Okay, Dr. Kogo Masilla teaches food classes at Central Cabarrus High School. She was nominated for this award by a student who wrote, Dr. Kogo Masilla is a phenomenal teacher. She cares about the subject she is teaching, but she also cares about the students that she teaches. She encourages us to get good grades, not only in her own class, but in every class we take. She tells us how important it is to come to school on time and to graduate. The student concluded the nomination with, she is strong and patient. She is a shining example of what an educator should be. Dr. Kogo Masilla, thank you for encouraging your students to excel in all of their classes and for being such a great example. Please allow Dr. Louder to present you with your award and then give our board members an opportunity to congratulate you as well.
All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Gotcha.
We'll move on now to the Impact Through Education Awards. Mrs. Ronnie Boone will come up to present those.
Good evening. Tonight, we will recognize our final set of Impact Through Education Awards for the 2017-2018 school year. We want to say a special thank you to our sponsors for these awards all school year, Cabarrus Regional Chamber and also Concord Trophy. We also want to say thank you and welcome back to Mrs. Tina Platek and some of her broadcasting students from J.M. Robinson High School, who are here this evening to gather more footage for another Impact Through Education Award feature for our TV 21. So hopefully you all have been watching and following those features on our cable channel. Congratulations to all of our Impact Through Education Award recipients this school year. And now it's my pleasure to introduce you to our May honorees. We will be presenting awards tonight to students and staff at Harrisburg Elementary School and Mount Pleasant High School. We'll begin with Harrisburg Elementary School, and I'd like to invite any members of the Harrisburg Elementary School administrative team to come forward to stand with their students and staff. Are these our administrators here? Can I get you here? And who's our first honoree here? Is this Finley? Okay, because I was going to call Finley, but can I get y'all to scooch together? Well, we do them individually. That's fine. Is this another family member? Okay. And that's okay. That's quite all right. Finley Teague is a 5th grade student at Harrisburg Elementary School. She's a natural leader and an amazing young lady. She goes above and beyond both inside and outside the classroom. This year, she serves as student council representative for her classroom, initiating a kindness cards campaign for the teachers. Every assignment in class, she puts 100% of an effort in and takes pride in her learning. She is self-motivated and is always trying to better herself academically, from extra studying to asking thoughtful questions and working hard every single day. She even enjoys working through word problems with her brother to help him prepare for the EOGs. Finley is extremely kind, not only to all of her teachers and adults, but to every peer with whom she comes into contact. She always includes everyone, and she works with students who need more support without being asked by the teacher. She exhibits a great deal of compassion and patience. It is really amazing to watch her work and take initiative in helping others. She wants to make sure no one is left out and is always willing to lend a helping hand. She enjoys trips to the beach and surfing and playing with her dog. Her favorite subject in school is science because she enjoys experiments, and her favorite thing about Harrisburg Elementary is the teachers. Finley has made an impact on education through her work ethic and genuine love for learning, as well as her compassion for others. Congratulations, Finley. Our next Impact Through Education Award honoree from Harrisburg Elementary is Arnav Karki. Would Arnav and his family please come forward? Arnav is also a 5th grade student at Harrisburg Elementary School. He is always smiling, and his teacher says he is one of the happiest kids she knows. He excels both inside and outside the classroom. It is clear Arnav loves school and loves to learn. He is a true role model for his peers due to his work ethic and due to his daily interactions with his classmates. Whether he is working in a small group in the classroom or playing kickball at recess, he always makes sure everyone is included and treated fairly. Arnav always stands up for others. He is not afraid to make a mistake and always puts forth his best effort in all areas. He is a friend to everyone, and he thrives when working and collaborating with a group of peers. Students and staff love to work with him. Arnav enjoys playing soccer, where his position is midfield. He has a golden doodle puppy and really enjoys reading. He says reading is his favorite subject because of his love of books. His favorite thing about Harrisburg Elementary School is the global theme because he enjoys learning about other continents. Arnav's impact on education is evident in his approach to learning, his perseverance, and his positive outlook on school. Congratulations, Arnav. Our next honoree from Harrisburg Elementary School is Ms. Beryl Kitchens. Would Mrs. Kitchens and her family please come forward? Beryl Kitchens is a second grade teacher at Harrisburg Elementary School. This will be her 5th year at Harrisburg Elementary. Prior to teaching at Harrisburg, she was a tutor and interim at A.T. Allen Elementary School and completed her student teaching at Wolf Meadow. Before working at Harrisburg Elementary School, Mrs. Kitchens was a stay-at-home mom and was very involved in the Harrisburg Elementary PTA, serving as the Vice President of Volunteers and the Vice President of Fundraising. Mrs. Kitchens' classroom is warm and welcoming. You rarely see her upset. She always has a kind word for her students and spends much of her free time figuring out the best ways to meet their academic and social needs. Beryl is also a lifelong learner. She's always reading and searching for the best ways to meet the individual needs of her students. She truly gets to know her students and creates lessons and plans to grow them at all levels. She was one of the teachers who dedicated many hours to the Broadway Junior production at the school. She enjoys sports and spending time with her family. Mrs. Kitchens is dedicated to her students and to her craft. She will work as hard as she can to grow as a teacher and to grow her students to their highest potential. Congratulations, Mrs. Kitchens. Our final honoree from Harrisburg Elementary School this evening is Mrs. Jerry Goldinger. Would Mrs. Goldinger and her family please come forward? Okay, that's fine. Oh, You sure? Okay. So we can switch and come back. All right. Jerry Goldinger has been the treasurer at Harrisburg Elementary School for 4 years. Prior to working at Harrisburg Elementary, she worked as the treasurer at Cox Mill Elementary, as a substitute coordinator and Yes Center assistant at Hickory Ridge High School, and as the media assistant and substitute coordinator at Central Cabarrus High School. Jerry is the backbone of Harrisburg Elementary. She makes sure all the teachers and students are taken care of on a daily basis. She is extremely detail-oriented and takes great pride in her position and in her school. She is the first person staff members often come to when they have a question, and she always takes the time to help everyone. In her spare time, Jerry loves to read and garden. She has a wonderful sense of humor and a kind heart. She works diligently to make sure the needs of staff and students are met, and she treats everyone with kindness and respect. Congratulations, Mrs. Goldinger. Now we'll move on to our Impact Through Education Awards for Mount Pleasant High School, and I'd like to invite any members of the Mount Pleasant High School administrative team to come forward at this time. You by yourself? Okay. Our first honoree from Mount Pleasant High School this evening is McKay Burke. Would McKay and his family please come forward? McKay is a junior at Mount Pleasant High School. He is a driven young man with noble aspirations of making our world a better place. Since his freshman year, he has taken a leadership role in the progressive development of the school's Academy of Energy and Sustainability. He has spent many hours recruiting potential applicants, researching, developing environmentally friendly initiatives, and fundraising to meet the financial needs of each of those initiatives. He has represented Mount Pleasant High School in Raleigh, speaking to legislators about the Academy's goals and accomplishments. He is also a member of the Academy's Student Advisory Board, and as student ambassador, meets with energy and sustainability industry representatives. McKay was instrumental in developing the Precious Plastic Initiative for the Academy. Precious Plastic develops common household items such as flatware, dishes, wall clocks, and sunglasses out of recycled plastic. Conservation efforts can be revolutionized by Precious Plastic, and the Mount Pleasant High School Academy of Energy will be the first precious plastic workstation in the southeastern United States. He also organized the second annual Bottle Smash Recycle Dash 5K last month. That's a tongue twister, which benefits the Academy. Most recently, he was awarded a paid internship at Corning. During his internship, he will work with Corning engineers to produce devices to assist individuals with disabilities with their daily needs and enhancing their quality of life. Mount Pleasant High School is proud to have McKay as a student and knows that he will make an impact on the educational opportunities of his peers for many years to come. Congratulations, McKay. Our next Impact honoree from Mount Pleasant High School is Casey Lambert. Would Casey and her family please come forward? Casey is a senior at Mount Pleasant High School, and she has had an impact through education in a variety of ways at the school. She is described as one of the nicest and most genuine people you will ever meet. At all times during the day, she speaks to everyone in the hallways between classes. One of Casey's biggest impacts in the school is in the Living and Learning class, which is a special education class. She has made a connection with each student in the class and treats them with respect and compassion. Casey also volunteers her time working with Project Unify, Special Olympics, and cadet teaching. Casey has had a true impact on education at Mount Pleasant High School. Her teachers and peers look forward to watching her continue to make an impact at East Carolina University, where she plans to major in special education. Congratulations, Casey. Our next honoree from Mount Pleasant High School is Chief Master Sergeant Kevin McLaughlin. Would Chief Master Sergeant McLaughlin and his family please come forward? Kevin McLaughlin retired from the United States Air Force in 2005 after 28 years of active duty. During that time, he served both stateside and abroad in locations such as Portugal, Greece, and Saudi Arabia. He began his career at Mount Pleasant High School as head of the Air Force Junior ROTC program. Chief McLaughlin will retire from Mount Pleasant High School on June 30th. He plans to pursue his passion of wild river canoeing while attending to his long overdue honey-do list. His best memory of his teaching career will be his knowledge that in some small way he has had a part in guiding students in the paths of greatness. One example, Chief McLaughlin recently learned that a previous Mount Pleasant High School cadet was chosen to pilot the B-2 stealth bomber, a $2 billion piece of government property. Not too bad for a Mount Pleasant graduate. Thank you, Chief, for your service to our nation and to the students at Mount Pleasant High School. Congratulations on receiving this award and on your retirement.
Can't get your picture.
Oh.
Come on, here we go. Got it. Thank you.
And our final honoree from Mount Pleasant High School this evening is Ms. Kim Cartner. Would Ms. Cartner and her family please come forward? They don't want to come up? Okay, all right. Kim Cartner is a dedicated Mount Pleasant High School staff member who works tirelessly to ensure the safety of the students and the order of the front office. She has worked at Mount Pleasant High School for many years and knows nearly all the students and parents by name. She cares and worries about the students at Mount Pleasant High School as if they were her own. When you enter the office, you are greeted with a warm smile and caring heart. Oftentimes, there is a lot going on in the front office at once, and Mrs. Cartner handles it all in stride. Her strong will and faith guide her when times are difficult. Mount Pleasant High School is a better place because of Mrs. Cartner. She is a stellar example of the saying, kids don't know how much you care until they know how, kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Congratulations, Mrs. Cartner, and thank you for making an impact through education at Mount Pleasant High School.
Casey is still here. I need to get her picture. Casey, one that was just before the retirement. The camera died. Not-
Hang on just a second. Before we move on to the next recognitions, our photographer just told me he had a little bit of a camera malfunction. And is Casey Lambert still here? We need to get your picture again. She's here? Great.
That's right up there. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Boone. Our next agenda item, welcome Mr. John Bass Fleece to share academic honors of our students.
Oh, can I? Great, thank you. All right, wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, it is my extreme honor to be able to present to you this group of significant scholars and scholarship recipients this evening. Each of these students has received recognition for their outstanding work. There is no doubt the school counselors who submitted their names did so with a great sense of pride for these young men and women. But before we recognize them, I'd like to take a moment and ask their parents, grandparents, and caregivers to stand for just a moment. Thank you all. Thank you all. Because for you, this is also a momentous time of endings and new beginnings. In a famous text by Kahlil Gibran, the author tells the story of a wise man who is preparing to leave the place he has long called home. People come from the village and approach him to ask for one more piece of parting wisdom about many things, about things like life and work and love and freedom and so on. And a woman with a baby approaches the wise man and asks to speak to us of children. And he said, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And they are with you, yet they don't belong to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrow may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so too he loves the bow, which is stable." And so thank you for being stable for your children and for the sacrifices you've made and everything you've done in entrusting their education to us. We're honored. So now, these young people standing before you tonight are at the launching stage of the rest of their lives ahead of them. In many ways, I'm confident that the successes ahead of them are, successes behind them are just the foreword to the book they're going to write. So young people, as I call your name, please step forward, and when I'm done speaking about you, you can step back, okay? For starters, Isaac Cochran. Isaac received an appointment to the United States Air Force Academy and has a full scholarship for 4 years. Isaac has committed to playing football for the Air Force for 4 years and currently has a 4.9 GPA. Thank you. Eka Abong. Eka Abong has received the Benjamin N. Duke Scholarship, which is funded by the Duke Endowment and receives full support for 4 years at Duke University. Eka is a IB student at Concord High School and has a grade point average of 5.1, participates in theater, National Honor Society, and has also participated in National Spanish Honors. Thank you. Next is Rebecca Oliveira Rodriguez. Rebecca received the Brazilian American Scholarship to Wake Forest University, which is a full merit tuition and standard fees for 8 semesters consecutively. And Rebecca is an outstanding IB student at Concord High School. Thank you. Next, from Central Cabarrus High School, we have Savannah Bradley. Savannah received the Thomas Wolfe Scholarship, which offers 4 full years of financial support. Savannah will pursue her major in journalism at UNC Chapel Hill. An interesting fact about the scholarship process is that it was rigorous. It required that she submitted 50 pages of prose, 40 pages in poetry, and 60 pages in playwriting in English. So, amazing. Thank you. Next is Allison Seaton Harris. Allison will be going to NC State. She is going to be a North Carolina Teaching Fellow. The first North Carolina Teaching Fellows class represents the best and brightest prospective teachers our state has to offer. Allison will major in mathematics education. Thank you. Next, from Hickory Ridge High School, we have Andrew Weatherman. Andrew is the national president of DECA, which is the International Association of Marketing. He has many travel commitments, and he will be having a gap year that is required. Then he will attend Duke University, and he will be a member of the class of 2023 for Duke University. Congratulations, Andrew. Next, also from Hickory Ridge High School, is Satya Lakayo. This is a great story. Satya was accepted to Princeton University and will plan to become an astrophysicist. Congratulations, Satya. Now for Cox Mill High School, Courtney Weber. Courtney Weber will be going to the University of South Carolina. She is an athlete there. I'm sorry, you're an athlete at Cox Mill. And you're a top student academically as well and an exceptional athlete in volleyball. And we just want to take an opportunity to recognize you for that. Thank you. Jillian Taylor. Hi, Jillian. Jillian is going to go to the University of North Carolina. She has the Chancellor's Science Scholarship, and let's see, she is going to be studying quantitative biology and mathematics, and you are going to have a significant agreement with the University of North Carolina related to grade point average, program participation, all very, very high standards, which we know you'll meet. Congratulations. Next, we have Avery Wilson. Avery is going to go to East Carolina University, and she received admission to the Honors College at ECU. They've invited you and offered you the Chancellor's Fellow Scholarship, which is full in-state tuition for 4 years. And you are planning to become a nurse, and I know that the health community will benefit from you being a part of it. Thank you, Avery. Alina Archibald is also from Cox Mill High School. Alina will be attending Howard University, where she's received a merit-based scholarship that is renewable. She'll be studying pre-med, which possibly includes anesthesiology or genetics. She's also received an Ambassador Girl Scout Award. Did I get that right?
The Gold Award for Girl Scouts.
Even better. So, all right. Thank you. And finally, Joy Weaver. Joy is going to be attending North Carolina A&T. Joy received a scholarship that covers her fees, room, board, and tuition for 8 semesters. She is going to be studying biology and is also pre-med from Cox Mill. Thank you, board members. Thank you, audience, for recognizing these young people. This is just the first of many great things you're going to see from them in the future. Thank you.
If we ever wonder on those days, and even for the educators here, that sometimes you think you can't get through a day because you have a difficult child or a difficult at home or maybe a challenge in the classroom, then we see these accomplishments. It's just incredible. So now we will welcome Mr. Brian Tyson for our athletic honors.
Good evening, board members. We're going to recognize some state championships, some state champions from the winter. We've had a great year in athletics this year. We've still got a lot of folks in the spring sports, so can't recognize them tonight. We got baseball teams, softball teams still in the playoffs, and the track state championships are this weekend, so we'll be seeing some of those folks shortly as well. First of all, I'd like to introduce some individual state champions. I'd like for Cade McDonald to come forward and Tyler Greger to come forward. These two gentlemen are wrestlers. Cade here on my right is from Mount Pleasant High School. He's a junior. He won the 2A state championship in wrestling in the 138-pound weight class this year. Cade had a 39-5 record for the season. He's already over 100 wins for his career, 120 wins on only 30 losses. He's a 3-time state qualifier, Rocky River Conference champion. He also plays football, pretty good little defensive back and wide receiver as well. Great parents. I've played a lot of ball with his dad coming up, so good family there too. So Cade, we like to congratulate you on your state championship this year. Now Tyler on my left, we all ought to recognize him. He's been up here quite a few times. Tyler is a 3-time state champion in wrestling at Hickory Ridge High School. He is a senior. He won the state championship his sophomore, junior, and senior year. Third place his freshman year. So outstanding career. He did not lose a single match this year. He's 42-0. 178-9 for his career. And he plans on attending Belmont Abbey next fall to wrestle with his older brother, Troy, and you got folks remember Troy as well. Troy was a 2-time state champion when he was at Hickory Ridge High School. So congratulations to you guys. Y'all join them too. We also had one other state champion, was Patrick O'Brien from Cox Mill. He had other plans tonight. I think he's out diving still. Three-time state champion in diving. Could not attend tonight. We also had, we're all aware of the Cox Mill boys basketball team winning the back-to-back state championships. They've kind of been on the recognition tour lately. And a lot of them have had some things coming up as well. And Principal Todd Smith is here in attendance tonight. I think it's really Todd Smith making them stay at school and practice tonight, trying to get another state championship. And that's one reason we call him the Hammer. So he's making them grind. So we have two other recognitions to do. Is the North Carolina High School Athletic Association's Commissioner's Cup Award winners. And I'd like for Mount Pleasant High School's Awesome Club to come forward.
Our plan.
To get in touch with our community.
Our plan.
To provide outreach to those in need.
Our plan.
To unify our school.
Our plan.
To spread awareness for important causes.
Our plan.
Awesome Club helped hand out popsicles during the July the 4th parade in Mount Pleasant. We helped host youth summer camps, which allowed us to interact and prepare future athletes. During May and October, we volunteered at several races and events held at Charlotte Motor Speedway to help raise money to provide outreach to those in need. During October, Awesome Club set up a Pink Day to show our support for breast cancer awareness. We also hosted our 10th annual King of the Court. We were later recognized by the Northeast Foundation for donating over $75,000 from this annual event in a span of 10 years and donated over $14,000 this past year. During Christmas time, we bought toys for children and volunteered to help families receive food and other essentials during the holiday. We hope to spread the Christmas cheer. During January, we visited the first breast cancer support group in the Charlotte area, called Pink Pals. We donated $2,250 to allow them to continue to expand their fantastic cause.
I just think it's great that we have young people involved at this level, because they're really our future.
On Read Across America Day, we visited 2 local elementary schools and gave the gift of reading. Awesome Club is collaborating with another school to help raise money for a little girl tackling childhood cancer.
Hi, my name is Lexi. Thank you for helping me. I hope to see you on April 28th.
Our plan. To be athletes who share unselfish moments.
And before we talk about the Awesome Club, I think, Michael, you're going to play the Hickory Ridge. We had another winner as well in Hickory Ridge High School softball team. Very prestigious award for the Commissioner's Cup that goes to these folks.
I met a Viet Cong and VA soldier just about 3 months ago, and we sat down and had a couple of beers, and we talked about what our jobs were.
Yeah.
And the equivalent is we were the soldiers.
To all the men and women of the United States Armed Forces now in the Middle East, the peace of a troubled world and the hopes of an oppressed people now depend on you. For your sacrifice, you have the gratitude and respect of the American people. And you can know that our forces will be coming home as soon as their work is done.
As the war and possible solutions to it are discussed in other parts of the world, the results of the North Vietnamese offensive are an unforgettable reality here in South Vietnam.
As you can see, there's a lot of good things going on the playing field, but there's a lot of good things going on off the playing field as well. These folks are doing great things in their community. Hickory Ridge's softball team cannot be here tonight. They're preparing for their third-round playoff game tomorrow night against Providence High School. But we did want to bring in Mount Pleasant High School. This is their fourth year of winning this award. And this is a prestigious award. It only goes to two schools in each of the four classifications. So it's pretty hard to win, and they just do an outstanding job in our community. And with them tonight is Michael Landers, their co-advisor. Ashley Pethel is also an advisor for the awesome team as well. So thank you folks for all that you do for our community. Congratulations.
Okay, I feel like, what are we going to do for an encore after we get all these awards? Just continue to be impressed. Next, we will have the National Honor Council and Mrs. Angel Oliphant.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to recognize Rocky River Elementary School Student Council for receiving the National Honor Council Award. The executive board members of the Rocky River Student Council are Avery Thrush, Rebecca Buckland, George Loveland, Landon Smith, Essex Woodson, Emma Rodriguez, Tia Andorra, Cruz McClure, Emma Salter, and Faith Davenport, and Elizabeth Benstead is their advisor. The American Student Council Association is supported by the National Association of Elementary School Principals, which recognizes and supports elementary student councils across the nation for making a difference in their schools and communities with the National Honor Council Award. Rocky River is the only elementary school in North Carolina to be honored with this award. In order to be recognized as a National Honor Council, Rocky River Elementary had to complete 3 different projects from the following categories: community service, student leadership, citizenship, and school spirit. Congratulations, students, on your leadership. We're very proud of you.
Okay, next we'll have the young authors. Ms. Oliphant will stay with us.
Yes. With the following authors, please come to the front when I call your name. Harper Arrowwood from Odell Primary School. Landon Call from A.T. Allen Elementary School. Kate Chappelle from C.C. Griffin Middle School. Carter Crosby from Pitt School Road Elementary School. Isaac Daly, Royal Oaks Elementary School. Grayson Donaher from Harold E. Winkler Middle School. Kinsley Ellington from Cox Mill Elementary School. Lovely Fisher, Harold E. Winkler Middle School. Olivia Johnson from Mount Pleasant Elementary. Wesley Little from Mount Pleasant Elementary School. And Hannah Champagne from C.C. Griffin Middle School. These county winners went on to compete at the state competition. Young authors were encouraged to write about their personal experiences with perseverance, how they have overcome obstacles, how they found strength in a time of weakness, and/or what inspired them to rise above a particular challenge. Authors could submit prose, poetry, fiction, or nonfiction. Congratulations to all of our young authors. We're very proud of you.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is 4.07, the Career and Technical Education State Champions. And Mr. Rusty Parker, before you start, I just want to clarify, Eileen, Ms. Rowe, for the minutes. The organization who Andrew was just here as one of the scholarship winners being recognized, he's the national president of the organization. And he clarified that they are no longer using the spelling, the words for DECA. They are just called DECA. So if you would remove any reference to distributive education clubs, that is a previous reference. So we want to make sure we record this correctly. So Mr. Parker?
He emailed us today saying that, so
Yes.
thank you for clarifying that. We're going to recognize DECA first. If they want to come in. DECA clubs actually are the Career and Technical Education student organization for the marketing programs. So the students that you'll see here are enrolled in our marketing programs. This year's state conference was held March the 8th through the 10th in Greensboro at the Corey Convention Center. This evening we have Elijah Summer and Andrew Weatherman. Elijah is actually from Cox Mill High School, and he won first place in the Automotive Service Marketing contest. And then also Andrew won first place in the marketing communications contest. That's a mouthful. Congratulations to both you guys. Next, we have our HOSA clubs. HOSA stands for Health Occupation Students of America. And this year, HOSA is actually a club that represents health sciences programs in career and technical education. This year's state conference was held March the 21st through the 24th in Greensboro, and it was also at the Corey Convention Center. And we have with us this evening, and make sure I say this right, Anushka Deshmuth. Got it right, I practiced. Cox Mill High School, and congratulations, she won first place in medical law and ethics. And then also Kayla Eifeld from Hickory Ridge High School, Home Health Aid, first place winner. Congratulations. Our next CTSO is Skills USA. Skills USA hosts competitive events across the state for students enrolled in trades and industrial education programs. The state convention was held in Greensboro at the Corey Convention Center and also at the Greensboro Coliseum Complex, April the 26th through the 28th. This evening, we're recognizing some teachers as well, I see, so I'm glad you guys got to be here. Austin Beaver is from Northwest Cabarrus High School, and he won first place in technical drafting. Also, Mason Saunders won first place. He's from Mount Pleasant High School. He won first place in Masonry 2. Congratulations. And then also Chris Vorvalidis, Mount Pleasant High School in estimating. Congratulations. Next, we have FCCLA, which is Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. FCCLA clubs are the Career and Technical Student Organization for the Family and Consumer Sciences programs. This year's state conference was also held in Greensboro at the Corey Convention Center, April 9th through the 11th. First on the list, actually some of these events were group events, so I'll read a couple names, and they won as a group. Margaret Castine, Madison Powell from Central Cabarrus High School, Giving to the Homeless Chapter Service Project and Chapter Service Display. They won first place. Also, Reagan Earnhardt and Brooke Hawley from Central Cabarrus. They won National Programs in Action, which was texting while driving. That's a good topic. And then also Taylor Kaisers from Central Cabarrus High School won for Career Investigations. Congratulations to all of you.
Rusty, I
Yes.
have a question
Yes, ma'am.
for you. By any chance, was that FBLA, did that used to be called COO? Or do you remember?
I'm not going to say that's before
Now,
my
it
time.
would have been years ago, like, 20, 30 years ago.
There was a program in CTE called Co-op. That might have been what it was. But yeah, FBLA is its own individual CTSO.
So that's a new type program?
It's been around for a little while. It's Future Business Leaders of America.
Okay.
And we had some winners, actually. They were not here this evening, but we had some winners for that club. But yeah, that's what Future Business Leaders of America is all about.
Because COO was office business type thing.
That's exactly what it was. Yes,
And
ma'am.
I just wondered if that FBLA was the same type thing.
Yep.
Okay,
It's those
thank you.
courses in that program are exactly what that club is. So you're right.
Okay, because I took COO.
So you would have been in FBLA. Yeah, that would have been you. The next CTSO is the Technology Student Association. It's TSA. And they also were in competition as a group. So I'm going to read the first group was Connor Burke, Isaac Kunish, Chris Little, I don't believe is here, Blaine Mercer, and then Colton Roberts. They were from Central Cabarrus High School, and they won for digital video production. Also, Samantha Knapp from Central Cabarrus High School won for essays on technology. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Next, agenda item 4.08, the VEX Robotics State Champions, and Ms. Nicole Sandor. Is she here? Oh, there she is.
Okay, good evening. Cabarrus County is wrapping up a historical year after the successful implementation of a district-wide grant of VEX Competitive Robotics. Cabarrus County's accomplishment was recently recognized at VEX World Competition by the CEO himself. So we want to start off first by welcoming in the J.M. Robinson VEX Robotics team, so if they can come on in. Having just returned from their 5th trip competing in the VEX Worlds competition, the Bulldog Robotics team has continued their leadership in the VEX platform throughout North Carolina. The Bulldog team is being recognized tonight for winning the 2017-2018 North Carolina VEX State Championship, in addition to capturing once again the event's Excellence Award, VEX's highest recognition for a competitive robotics team. Joining us tonight from the team are Bryson Foster, Cheryl Marie Anderson, Aaron Bennett, Seth Duran, Matthew Mann, Diego Curiel, Abiel Martinez, Marcus Anthony, DJ Ray, Brendan Mangan, Christopher Anderson, Jacob Pridmore, Dylan Jones, Eric Reidenhauer, Andrew Darga, and the three fantastic coaches, Coach Reed, Coach Anderson, and Coach Parisi. Congratulations, Bulldogs. You guys rock. I know, I had to hold back. All right, and one more. Next, please, we're going to welcome the Mount Pleasant Middle Robo Tigers. The Mount Pleasant Middle Robo Tigers were the IQ Team Challenge State Champions this year and were also rewarded the STEM Research Project Award. This was the team's very first year in competition robotics, and they have recently returned from competing in VEX Worlds. Quite the amazing success story. Congratulations to Aiden Gifford, Charlie Coley, Cody Wyatt, Emma Layton, and their coach, Zachary Trivet.
If you ever see a posting on one of the schools who is doing the competitions, which I think most of them are doing, I had not heard about it all the past year. Finally went to the last competition at Robinson, J.M. Robinson High School, and I was amazed. And I work in technology for more years than I care to admit, but I was amazed at what these kids were doing. So impressive. So next we will have agenda item 4.09, Fine Arts Honors, and Dr. Crystal Hill.
Good evening. We are really excited about the opportunity tonight to recognize the following performing arts groups and individuals for their honors, awards, and achievements at the state level or higher. We are going to begin with high school band. So can we please have Central Cabarrus High School Concert and Symphonic Band please come forward. The Central Cabarrus High School Concert and Symphonic Band is under the direction of Mr. Tyler Stark. Both ensembles received a superior, the highest rating for their performance at the South Central District Music Performance Adjudication event. Congratulations on your honor. The next high school was unable to come tonight, but we would like to honor them. Concord High School is under the direction of Mr. Edward Harper and their symphonic band. This ensemble received a superior, which is the highest rating for their performance in the grade 4 music at the Southern Central District Music Performance Adjudication event. Congratulations to Concord High School. Next, we have Hickory Ridge High School. We are going to begin with the concert band and symphonic band. They are under the direction of Mr. Christopher White. The concert band and symphonic band is under the direction of Mr. Christopher White. Both ensembles earned the highest possible rating of straight superiors for their performance at the South Central District Music Performance Adjudication event. Congratulations to our concert band and symphonic band from Hickory Ridge High School.
Turn and come this way. There you go. Come out this way a little bit. Turn.
I didn't know how many. I'm sorry. I didn't know this was all of Hickory Ridge High School. All right, next we have our wind ensemble. The wind ensemble at Hickory Ridge High School was one of only 2 bands from the U.S. to be invited to the U.S.-China Cultural and Educational Foundation to present a series of concerts in China. These concerts were performed in multiple cities, including Shanghai and Beijing. Congratulations to our wind ensemble. And last but not least, from Hickory Ridge High School, we have our individual winner, Robert Lanier. Robert auditioned and earned first chair euphonium in the North Carolina All-State Honor Band. This means Robert is the top high school euphonium player in the state of North Carolina. Congratulations. Next, we have J.M. Robinson High School under the direction of Mr. Drew Carter. If we can please have the concert band and the symphonic band please come forward. We'll begin with the concert band. This ensemble received a superior, which is the highest rating for their performance in the grade 3 music at the South Central District Music Performance Adjudication event. Congratulations to the concert band at J.M. Robinson High School.
Okay, concert band.
Next, we have the symphonic band. This ensemble received a superior, which is the highest rating for their performance for grade 6 music at the South Central District Music Performance Adjudication event. Congratulations to the symphonic band. Next, we have Mount Pleasant High School under the direction of William Bart Tolbert. We will begin with concert band. The concert band is made up of mostly underclassmen with upperclassmen playing secondary instruments. The ensemble received a superior, which is the highest rating for their performance in grade 3 music at the South Central District Music Performance Adjudication event. Congratulations to the concert band. We also have the symphonic band. The symphonic band is made up of mostly upperclassmen. They performed and were awarded a perfect score of straight 1s in the grade 5 music at the South Central District Music Performance Adjudication event. And finally, we have our individual award winners. We have Ricky Carballo, Samuel Webb, and Zachary Childress. These 3 students auditioned and were selected to perform in the North Carolina All-State Orchestra. Ricky earned first chair French horn, which means he is the top high school French horn player in the state of North Carolina. Ricky plans to study music performance at UNC Greensboro. Zachary plans to study music education at Western Carolina University, and Samuel plans to study pharmacy at Wingate University. Congratulations to our individual winners. We will now move to high school chorus. Will Central Cabarrus High School, under the direction of Mr. Ethan Price, please come forward? All right, I will read all of them together. We have chamber chorus. At MPA, which is the Music Performance Adjudication, this ensemble received a superior rating, which is the highest rating available, in sight reading and performance grade 6 music. We also have the women's ensemble. At MPA, this ensemble received a superior rating, which is the highest available in sight reading and performing grade 4 music. We have our individual winners, Safia Sarway. Did I say that correctly? Sarway? Oh, I saw you perform. You're amazing. Sorry. Safia. Thank you. Auditioned and was selected to perform in the North Carolina Honors Chorus, which is the highest achievement in choral music for high school students in the state of North Carolina. Only 10% of auditions from across the state are accepted for this prestigious ensemble that performs annually in Winston-Salem and the Stevens Center. Next, we have Danielle Soiree. Danielle auditioned and was selected to perform in the 910 All-Carolina Select Choir, which is an elite ensemble offering opportunities to freshmen and sophomore students only. Only 20% of auditions from across the Carolinas are accepted for this prestigious ensemble that performs annually in Wingate, North Carolina at the Bate Center for Performing Arts. We also have individuals Rashawn Elliott, Melanie Griffith, Alex Harward, Jared Jenkins, Jaron Johnson, Noah Raymond, and Safiatu Soiree. These students are selected to perform in the Mars Hill University Choral Festival, which is a prestigious program offering opportunities to exceptionally talented singers. Only 20% of auditions from across the state are accepted for this elite ensemble that performs annually in Mars Hill, North Carolina at the Moore Auditorium. Congratulations to our award winners. Next, we have Cox Mill High School under the direction of Miss Jennifer Cook. We have individual award winners tonight, Miles Arnold and Allison McGee. These students were selected to perform in the Mars Hill University Choral Festival, which is a prestigious program offering opportunities to exceptionally talented singers. Only 20% of auditions from across the state are accepted for this elite ensemble that performs annually in Mars Hill, North Carolina at the Moore Auditorium. Congratulations on your honor. Next, we have Hickory Ridge High School under the direction of Miss Kirby Treadaway. We have several awards under the direction of Miss Kirby Treadaway, and I will read them all at once. We have the Chamber Choir. At the music performance adjudication, this ensemble received a superior rating, which is the highest available in sight reading and performance grade 6 music. We have the Advanced Women's Chorus. At MPA, this ensemble received a superior rating, which is the highest available in sight reading and performance grade 5 music. We have individuals, Andrew Kahn, Jonathan Long, Shelby Moss, and Shelby Starr. These students auditioned and were selected to perform in the North Carolina Honors Chorus, which is the highest achievement in choral music for high school students in the state of North Carolina. Only 10% of auditions from across the state are accepted for this prestigious ensemble that performs annually in Winston-Salem and the Stevens Center. We have individual award winners Bryson Battle, Ashley Byers, Corrine Carr, and J.D. Hagler. These students auditioned and were selected to perform in the 910 All-Carolina Select Choir, which is an elite ensemble offering opportunities to freshmen and sophomore students only. Only 20% of auditions from across the Carolinas are accepted for this prestigious ensemble that performs annually in Wingate, North Carolina at the Bates Center for Performing Arts. We have individuals Owen Barber, Jessica Benson, Sarah Edwards, Keenan Haywood, Andrew Kahn, Jonathan Long, and Lillian Rowland. These students were selected to perform in Mars Hill University Choral Festival, which is a prestigious ensemble offering opportunities for exceptionally talented young singers. Only 20% of auditions from across the state are accepted for this elite ensemble that performs annually in Mars Hill, North Carolina at the Moore Auditorium. Congratulations to Hickory Ridge High School under the direction of Ms. Kirby Treadway.
And are you finished with yours yet? You still? Oh, you're helping with the next one. Okay, next, we will have staff recognitions with Dr. Louder and Dr. Hill.
At this time, I am pleased to present to you the Promising Practice Award. Will Michelle McCartan, Mandy Kinfield, and Tara Willis from Weddington Hills Elementary School, along with members from their administration, please come forward. The Independent Tribune wrote a nice article, and I'd like to read it to you to help you understand this amazing award. Weddington Hills Elementary School AIG teacher Michelle McCartan and autism teachers Tara Willis and Amanda Kentfield, along with other school colleagues, we recently attended the 2017 National Forum on Character Education in Washington, D.C. to celebrate winning the Promising Practices Award for the Empathy Partners Project. The project involves a personal and academic partnership between 4th and 5th grade AIG students and the autistic students at Weddington Hills Elementary School. The partnership creates an environment that nurtures the attitudes of cooperation, respect, and empathy. Nikki Sandor, Cabarrus County Schools Gifted Education Coordinator, said the students are discovering how they are alike and what makes them different through the project. They are also partnering with classroom experiences, guest speakers, visits, and off-campus experiences. While the AIG students develop an understanding of autistic behaviors, their characters further developed by virtue of becoming more open-minded. Similarly, the AU students are demonstrating positive behaviors and building friendships outside of their self-contained classrooms. As teachers, we do our best to place particular focus on empathy in our lessons and activities. Often, we, society, become so entrenched in being progressive and innovative that we lose sight of what may be the two greatest catalysts to personal development, kindness and understanding. Ms. McCartan said, "This was the tenor of the conference. I'm inspired from all and have learned and am so proud that our education program was selected for a Promising Practices Award." Congratulations to Weddington Hills Elementary.
And last, to finish off our recognitions tonight, we're going to recognize a few members of our leadership team here in Cabarrus County. So if our Chief Financial Officer, Kelly Klutz, will please come forward. Our Finance Department, under the leadership of Kelly Klutz, has earned 2 more awards for excellence in financial reporting. The Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting presented by the Association of School Business Officials International for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017. The second award is the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting presented by the Government Finance Officers Association, also for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017. These awards recognize Ms. Klutz and her team's diligence and professionalism for their accounting acumen. The awards also show our district's transparency and fiscal accountability. Neither of these awards are new to the Finance Department. In fact, this is the 7th consecutive year the department has been honored. Congratulations to Ms. Klutz and her team. And our last award, would Glenda Jones please come forward? Our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Glenda Jones, received the 2018 Raymond Sarball Award presented by the North Carolina Association of School Administrators. This leadership award is given annually to individuals who have shown outstanding leadership in public school service, as well as the commitment to enhancing and supporting the efforts of the North Carolina Association of School Administrators on behalf of his or her fellow administrators. Ms. Jones was selected for this honor because of her leadership throughout the education community, most notably her service on the board of NCASA and the Personnel Administrators of North Carolina, in which she has been a past president. She was also selected because of her work on the new Professional Educator Preparation and Standards Commission and for her leadership at the state level on policy initiatives, including issues regarding the implementation of the Affordable Care Act and state pension spiking. Ms. Jones received her award at the NCASA Conference on Educational Leadership, which was held here in Concord last month. Congratulations, Ms. Jones.
And although it may take a while on this business meeting in May, we always enjoy seeing all the successes at our schools and in our county office. Board members will now move to the approval of minutes. You have before you the minutes for the April 9th work session, April 16th business meeting, and April 23rd joint meeting with the Board of Commissioners. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I would make a motion that we approve the minutes of April the 9th, April the 16th, and April the 23rd.
And Mr. Walter seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes 6-0. Before we start the reports section, I would like to suggest we take about a 10-minute at most recess. Please be very timely because we have a couple long stretches coming up on discussions and presentations. So it is now 7:35, so I will turn on the mic at 7:45. Thank you. Okay, we are back from recess, and we will now move to agenda item 6.01, the demographic presentation, and Ms. Reimer will start us off.
Good evening, board members. I'm very excited tonight to introduce to you Matthew Cropper of Cropper GIS, as well as Dr. Jerome McKibben of McKibben Demographics. As you're aware, they are partners with us in our realignment and are facilitating and leading that process for us, as well as tonight's study that they're going to present. Their expertise, as well as the in-depth study that you're going to see tonight, is certainly the reason why we brought them to you originally, and so I thank the Board of Education from the deepest part of my heart for allowing us to hire this group. So far they've done a great job. I'm really excited about what you're going to see tonight. A lot of information. So at this time I'll ask Matthew Cropper from Cropper GIS to please join me.
Thank you, Ms. Reimer. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Louder, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. As Ms. Reimer said, we are here tonight to present to you the results of the demographic study research that we have just recently completed. But before we get into the details, and I turn it over to Dr. McKibben, I just want to give you a little bit of an overview of who we are. I think you'll probably be seeing myself and Dr. McKibben quite a few times through the next course of the next several months as we get into realignment process, but the focus tonight is the demographics. We are Cropper GIS Consulting, K-12 planners based out of Ohio, but we work with school districts all over the country with just this type of work that we're doing here for Cabarrus schools. We do realignment studies, demographic studies, and we also help districts with facility planning and things like that. I am Matthew Cropper. I have about 20 years of experience in this industry, working with school districts and other clients across the United States, managing and facilitating rezoning and realignment studies just like this across the U.S. We just recently completed a study in Union County as well. Dr. McKibben is with me here as well. He is a PhD demographer, known as one of the best in the industry for small area forecasting. He has a lot of experience and educational background that's suited for just this type of work. We have worked with school districts all over the United States, as I said. We're everywhere from 2,000 to 200,000 students. As I mentioned, we had just recently completed Union County Public Schools, a realignment study, and also population enrollment forecasting there. In addition to schools, I also help provide consultation to the U.S. Department of Justice, the Office of Civil Rights, as it relates to federal desegregation lawsuits and things like that. So we also work with governments as well as school districts. But we are here because we were hired by the district to help facilitate this process. As it relates to the demographic study, we were hired to develop population forecasts by school attendance area by grade for the next 10 years. And then also to develop enrollment forecasts for 2017-18 to 2027-28 by grade level for each elementary, middle, and high school attendance area. So we develop a population forecast first, which is Dr. McKibben's specialty, and then that population forecast helps drive an enrollment forecast. We're analyzing current and future demographic dynamics of the district and attendance areas and forecasting 10 years out your enrollment, your anticipated enrollment. And finally, the results of our research have been put into a report which we have presented to the school district that summarizes the demographic study findings. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. McKibben to give you an overview of the demographic study.
Thank you, Matthew. Members of the board. As Matthew said, this is a demographic forecasting process. And you just open up with, these are forecasts, they are not projections. Very big difference between the two. A projection is where you take a past trend. Traditionally over the years it's been year-to-year survivorship, second to third, third to fourth, over a number of years, 3, 4, 5, create an algorithm and use that survivorship factor to literally project into the future. Very easy, simple to do, high utility, and almost never correct, because it makes a very, very bold assumption that what's happened the last 5 years will replicate itself over the next 5 or 10. That almost never happens. Yeah. But for, again, like a long time, that's all you had. Now, a forecast, and this is a two-step procedure, as Matt said. First, you do a population forecast of each one of your elementary attendance areas, then go to middle, then to high school. And you do a fertility, a mortality, and a migration model for each one of the areas based on their own demographic characteristics and dynamics. The results of that population forecast then drive an enrollment forecast. So it takes into account your demographic dynamics for each attendance area. And no two attendance areas are exactly alike. McKibben's first rule of demographic research: national models don't work in any state, state models don't work in any county, county-wide models don't work in any attendance area. You must put together a demographic profile of each individual area under study and use their own demographic and economic and social characteristics to go forward. Now, anytime that you do a forecast, you must have assumptions. These are broad socioeconomic and demographic parameters, if you like, that dictate the building of your models. I don't go through all of these, but I do want to go through the key ones, and probably the most important one is B. The 30-year fixed mortgage stays below 5%. Why is that so important? Because the dynamics of your housing market, both existing and new homes, dictates not only the number of people moving in, but where they are in the life course. Are they in their 20s? Are they in their 30s? Are they in their 40s? Do they have no kids, preschool, elementary, high school, whatever? A lot of it's dictated about the housing they move into. And I mentioned there both new and existing. Everybody fixates on new home construction. Yet in the United States today, 80% of the housing market is existing home sales. Even here, the majority of your home sales are existing, not new. As of this morning, According to our sources, Zillow and Realty Track, you get about 350 new homes going on the market. You got almost 800 existing homes going on the market. We're going right into the home buying season. Most people with kids move between April and August. Makes sense, they won't pull their kids out of school. That's how we track your individual areas, you get that right down to the parcel level. The neat thing about it, most people don't realize this, everything about your house is public domain data. Okay, and that's the power of GIS. We can now take independent housing data in this case and correlate it to demographic data used to building our models. Okay, now why is 5% so important as a tipping point? Anytime you have a percent for your assumptions, at that point you start to see a drag on the forecast. It goes to 5.1, 5.2, stays there for a couple weeks, drops back, it's a slight drag in the forecast. If it goes to 7%, and stays there for a couple of years, it's going to hit a brick wall. You will see your home sales drop, just like everybody else in the country. Why is that? Because most of your home buyers are between the ages of 28 and 40 years old. And you may have seen the article that came out a couple months ago now, where the average college graduate comes out of college with $35,000 in student loan debt. You're familiar with this? What the article didn't tell you was the average college graduate marries a college graduate. $70,000 in household debt. That's why the mortgage approval rate in this country and this county is only running about 62%. They're loaded with debt, okay? So unless you're FHA, you gotta have 20% down. And that's most of your first-time home buyers. So, and we've seen an uptick in home interest rates here in the last year, up to 4.44 this morning. If it goes above 5, it's gonna be a drag. And I'll be the first person to tell you my forecast will be too high because you are very, very dependent upon that in-migration flow. As you go talk to the people around the district, they can always name 1, 2, 3 factors causing your population enrollment changes, and 99 times out of 100, they're absolutely correct. The problem is there's about 15 or 20 different factors you need to be looking at, some positive, some negative. This is one of them. So the short term, you keep an eye on the 30-year fixed rate. No mortgage lenders go under. That's Freddie and Fannie. If they have trouble there, you're not going to get mortgages out there. Everything currently planned and platted, completed by 26, occupied by 27. If it's already planned and platted, we have it in the forecast. If there's someone thinking about building something in 2020, it's not in there. I like to tell people I'm a demographer, I'm not a soothsayer. If I could actually see the future, I wouldn't be doing this for a living. So we have you assume that 1,400 new housing units come on board annually till 21, and about another 1,000 units annually after that. However, and this, you'll hear this point again and again and again, your new home construction, your existing home sales, your age structure, all your demographic factors are not happening evenly across the district. They will have greater or less impact depending where you're at. And also, there's housing unit construction. We have to look at individual single-family detached homes versus apartments. That's a very, very big distinction. In demography, we call it housing tenure, okay? Why is that so important? Apartment dwellers tend to be young. You don't come out of college and buy a house. You come out of college and rent an apartment. Then you buy a house later. So apartment dwellers tend to move every 18 months, tend to be younger, and tend to be what we call family formation ages, 20 to 34 years old. Homeowners, on average, tend to be older, have completed their family formation, and move every 9.5 years. Much more stable. That's just 3 of the key factors on it. So the tenure of the area also has an impact of it. So what type of housing unit comes on board also is a factor. Unemployment rate for the Charlotte metropolitan area stays below 6.5%. Look at the metropolitan area because most of the people who live in Cabarrus County don't work in Cabarrus County. A lot of them work in some other county. Your transfer rates hold constant. And then P is actually, and P and Q are important ones. We're seeing a slight uptick in distressed home sales across the United States. The foreclosure bug, not nearly as bad as it was 10 years ago, but it is starting to come back just a little bit because of lending practices. But more important is Q, housing turnover rates. And this, again, goes back to demographic dynamics, okay? You see a slight uptick at 62. You'll see another one at 65. But most homeowners don't downsize till they're in their 70s. It's not retirement that makes people downsize their homes. It's the death of one of their spouses. Then the house is too big, maintenance becomes an issue. Let's move closer to the kids or grandkids or whatever, okay? So if I know home ownership rates in an area, age structure of an area, and the mortality rates for the area, that's an excellent proxy variable on how many of those existing homes are going to come on the market in the next 10 years. And with an aging baby boom coming around, that's a very key factor for some areas of the district. Matt's favorite here, forecast methodology.
Why did you, I'm sorry to interrupt you, why did you skip number M, or letter M?
Because I can go back to M if you'd like.
Yes, sorry.
No new charter schools, because charter schools are wreaking havoc every place they open. If you open a 400-student charter school, subtract 400 kids from your enrollment. Very simple.
And you think it's realistic that there's no charter schools going to open in our county in the next 10 years?
That's the assumption we're using. One may come in 2022. As I just said, if you have a one coming in 2022, 5 years beyond these forecasts, and it's for 400 kids, subtract 400 kids from that area. Very simple. Okay? If none open, that's a violation of the forecast assumptions. Just as much as the 30-year fixed rate, that time might be 7%. That would be a violation of the forecast assumptions. Okay? You add or subtract. Either it's a factor or it's not a factor. Whether the state, if you'd asked me 3 years ago if the state would have the great insight to pass House Bill 13, I would have said no. But that kind of caught everybody blindsided, and they did. But nobody had that in their forecast because no one knew they were going to do it until the last minute. And then when we were in Union County, what came back later? Oh, now we're going to phase in over 3 years. You've got to have some kind of a point for the assumption, okay, and work off of that. And then as they change the goalposts on you, you have to be able to add or subtract it to it. Okay, so it's pretty simple in that aspect. Do I think they'll open a charter school? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea if they're going to open a charter school here in the next 10 years. But if they do, subtract it off the numbers.
Okay, well, they've had a history of opening charter schools in the last couple of years.
I'm sorry, sir?
They've had a history of opening charter schools in the last couple of years.
Yes, they do. We could put that assumption in there in a scenario if you would like. If you would like to put an assumption in there that says they're going to open 4 charter schools in the next 4 years, we can do that very easily. Just give us the size and location, we'll take it off of your enrollment. Is there anything else?
You can continue, sorry to interrupt you.
So, thank you. Forecast methodology. If you want to know what's going to happen in enrollment, you have to understand what's going to happen to your population. Population does not stay static. Demographic trends do not stay static. And the number one most important factor, the thing we have closest to a silver bullet variable for forecasting population is age structure. It's not births, it's not home building, it's not home sales, it's what's the age structure of your population. These are the top 5 factors also. Number of women in prime childbearing age. Despite what you've read in the paper, fertility rates in this country have not changed that much in the last 40 years. They've stayed in a nice tight 10% band between 1.8 and 2.0 children per woman in her lifetime. Okay? The National Center for Health Statistics just came out with their big report on baby boom fertility, kind of understanding that. And the surprising number that came out of that is 18% of all baby boom women never had a child. 18% more only had one. And we're seeing those trends again, the generations behind it. You know, so think about that. Over a third of the women only have 1 child or 0. And they're out there living someplace. Mortality rates. Mortality rates haven't changed that much also, although we've seen a slight uptick in the last couple of years in the 30-year-olds. But basically, the rise in deaths is not due to a cause in rise in mortality rates. It's due to the aging of the population. We have more people what we call prime dying age, which I used to say was over 60, but now I'm 62, so it's now over 80. Magnitude and prevalence of out-migration and in-migration. Every area, no matter what it is, has people moving out of it, has people moving into it. The number, the magnitude, and the age of those people will dictate what their future population enrollment is going to be. And then also the consideration, local factors, and what's building, what's declining, opening, closing schools, and the like. So basically, to do the demographic study, use a base forecast. The base number is the 2010 census. I know, it's 8-year-old data, what good is that? Well, it's like balancing your checkbook. You have to have an opening balance, some place to start. And the 2010 census is the best one for that level of geography, okay? And also, you can track what you should have done over the last 8 years, given what your population was in 2010, compared to what you actually did do, and do that by an individual area. Age-specific fertility rates for each area. Mortality, we use mortality for the whole county because mortality rates don't vary that much. And then age-specific migration rates, and we'll get to those more later. Data sources, the district, the county, the Internal Revenue Service, or in and out migration data. I like IRS data because if you don't check in with them, they will track you down. And Census Bureau. This is a population pyramid. I want to kind of walk through this with you for a second, kind of how to read these things. I also call it your demographic fingerprint because no two areas have the exact size, shape of their population pyramid. I'll show you the district as a total next, and you'll notice in your report that none of the attendance areas look exactly like the district, okay? They're very easy to read. That 0 to 4 bar, that's your preschoolers. 5 to 9 is elementary. 10 to 14 is middle school. 15 to 19, high school. 20 to 34 we refer to as family formation ages. 80% of all births occur to women in those ages. You can have a total fertility rate of 9. If you don't have women in the 20 to 34 age group, you're not going to have that many births. Plain and simple, okay? 35 to 54 are the ages where most people have kids in school. Now, there are exceptions to this. I was one of them. I was a first-time father at 40. So when I was in my late 50s, my son was in high school, and everybody told me what a nice, well-behaved grandson I had. So, but most people are usually done by that point. 54 to 69 are the empty nest households. And this is where it starts befuddling people. The Smith family still living down in that housing unit. They were there 10 years ago, but 10 years ago there was 4 people in that housing unit. Now there's 2 because their kids have moved away. And while I'm talking about empty nesters, let me expand your concept of that. We traditionally think of empty nester as when the last child leaves high school, right? But you can be empty nest of preschool, empty nest of preschool and elementary, preschool, elementary, and middle school. You can have a lot, and there's several attendance areas in the district that still have kids in school, but they're all middle school and high school. There'll be no more elementary or middle school kids coming out of those housing units as long as those people stay in that housing unit that are aging through. Our job is to find them and where they are. And then, of course, the 70 and over are the turnover households. So now this is the 2010 census for Cabarrus County School District. Not the county as a whole, just the school district. This is the wonderful thing about Matt's GIS. He can take your boundaries superimposed on 2010 census geography, and we pulled the entire census off, got all the variables, which we're using for our base analysis. There's a couple things I want you to notice here. Notice the 0 to 4 bar is smaller than the 5 to 9, okay? That's very common in suburban school districts where the bulk of your housing units are single-family detached. You don't have that many apartments. More apartments in Mecklenburg. So if you're coming here to live and work, you're more likely to live in one of those nice apartments in Mecklenburg, start your family there, and then move out to suburbans. Union has this situation as well. If you move this pyramid or this age structure forward 5 years, the first thing we do is a dummy forecast. No one moves, everybody stays put. What should have happened? Well, your elementary enrollment should have dropped by about 1,200 students. Why? Because the cohorts coming in behind you are smaller. Now, it didn't, of course. But this is a very key factor because when people see growth come in, they want to add it to what they already have, not realizing those preschool age cohorts coming in are smaller. You must fill in the deficit first, then you grow, okay? Look at both sides of the equation. Why you have that deficit? Very simple reason. Don't have a whole lot of 20 to 34-year-olds in here because there's not a place for them to live. You're building more apartments, yes, but your amount of births in the district is not big enough to maintain your enrollment. Now, Now, over the past 8 years, you've had no trouble having enough in-migration to not only fill in that deficit and grow. The other thing I want to point out is notice that the cohorts turning 70 over the last 5 and the next 5 years, 60s in this pyramid, now going in their 70s, clearly the number of turnover houses in the district will be going up, have for the last 8 years, and will continue to over the next 10. No argument there. But the problem is, look at the size of the cohorts now in their late 40s going to their early to late 50s. It's going up much faster. You're empty nesting faster than you turn over. The difference must be made up by new home construction, okay? And that rate and magnitude is going to vary from individual attendance area. And just to give you an idea of how varied they are, here's a couple extreme ones. Cox Mill, okay, where you have huge, now they're in their early 40s, okay? It's aging through. There's hardly anybody there in prime childbearing age. There's not going to be near enough births. So as long as there's new home construction coming in this area, bringing new households, to keep the enrollment up. But if that gets cut off, if that doesn't happen, there's not enough people in their prime childbearing age to have enough births to keep those grade cohorts the same size. So they'll be empty nesting of preschool and elementary very, very quickly, okay? And it's a long, long way before they'll start downsizing, okay? Coltrane Webb, more like a pillar. Why is it like that? Because that also happens to be one of the attendance areas with the highest concentration of apartments. So you don't have that hourglass. You've got a nice, even distribution of population, and consequently also you see there's hardly any deficit in the 0 to 4 because you have people in prime childbearing age. Weinkauf, bigger example, there's more base population. They're all the same scale, so we can see the relative size of it, but it too has that nice almost pillar shape and even distribution across the ages, and again a large number of apartments so consequently you don't have a deficit. You have actually a small surplus here in the 0 to 4. See, so if you have that pillar shape, you don't need new home construction coming in. There's enough population across the age structure to maintain enough births to keep their enrollment constant. Okay. Now this table here shows the different characteristics by area. The district total is at the bottom. About 40% of the housing units have under 18 population. That includes preschoolers, about normal for a suburban district. 2.71 kids or persons per household, a real crude measurement there. Mom, dad, whatever the point is the number of kids. And relatively small differences in the household size has a big impact because whatever the difference is, take Allen and Bethel. 279, 269, so it's 0.1. Doesn't look like a lot of difference until you apply it to 3,000 housing units. So you're talking about 3,000 or 300 kids, you know. So small differences in household size have a big impact on the number of childbearing. Householders 35, 54, 46% and dropping, okay. Your population is aging. Even though you have a lot of people moving in, the people who came out in the 90s and 2000s have now moved beyond prime childbearing age, and they're not moving out any place. The good news is your over 65 population is going up at a pretty good clip, probably close to 20% right now, and percent of homeowners, housing tenure, 75%, but you can see a wide distribution across the attendance areas. Beverly Hills, Weddington, Weinkauf, all relatively low, and you've got much higher ones out in Cox Mill, of course, 91%, Harrisburg 94. So you have different dynamics of the population given what their housing tenure is going to be and continue to be. Single person households, about 21%. Single person over 65 is 7.4. Those are housing units, if they're in areas with large amounts of single-family attached homes that are owner-occupied, are probably ones that are going to turn over in the next 5 to 10 years. So, and you can see out to the wide range, McAllister, Royal Oaks, Irving, all above 10%, Beverly Hills above 14. There's going to be a lot of turnover. And turnover is a tricky thing because areas you may not have seen school-age children come out of for the last 10 or 15 years because they've aged out, their kids aged out, the parents are still there. As those households turn over, you now start to see kids start to come back out of there. That's why the home sales data is so important. This is my favorite data from 2010 census. This is the individual year of age count. Now in 2010, the 5-year-olds are kindergarten. 6-year-olds first grade, 7 or 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. In 2015, those under 1 are now kindergarten age. 1 year first grade, 2nd, 3rd, and the like. And you can see the relative cohort size coming through. And the advantage here is you see a pop or a decline in one school's kindergarten or first grade in 1 year. Is it due to growth? Is it due to in-migration? Is it due to housing turnover? Or is it just a big or a small cohort going through? And a great example there is, if you could look at, well, Allen on top. 5-year-olds at 151, pops up to 176 next year, goes back down to 158. It's just a 1-year abnormality. What we're trying to do is filter those data waves out and try to more directly correlate the individual changes with actual demographic and population changes. But look at the bottom for the district total, okay? In 2010, from the 5-year and higher, we're talking, I put my glasses on for that one, 2,300, 25, 24, 2466, 2621. Look at the size of the cohorts coming in behind it. 2353, 2270, 2187, 2086. That's that deficit I'm talking about. So without in-migration of new households to bring in, these are kids born between the ages of 2006, 2010. By the time they get to school age in 2015, if you have an in-migration, the enrollment drops. This is how we can measure by individual area the age-specific migration pattern, okay? Because I've noticed over the years that when a 3rd grader moves, they tend to take the whole family with them. So what we do here is something called the market share. This is the district level. We do this for each one of the attendance areas. And again, we'll walk you through this. The bottom one's 2013, and the 3-year-olds in the 2010 census are now 6 years old in 2013. 2,284 is your enrollment. We create a percentage. And what we do is we track that through time. In 2014, they're now 2nd graders. Next year, they're 3rd, 4th, and by 2017, they're 5th graders. And we compare that against what was counted in the 2010 census relative cohort size. If the percentages go up, you've had in-migration. If they go down, you've had out-migration. And you'll see at the district level, not only do you have rising percentages, it also tells us the magnitude, and when you do it by attendance area level, you can see which attendance area they're going into, okay? But again, for that we have to have geocoded students back to their home attendance area to correlate that. So clearly across the board, you're seeing rather robust in-migration. The true challenge of this is not to over-forecast the growth and look at both sides of the equation, okay? So clearly you've had in-migration more than enough to fill in the deficit and give you 1,200 net growth for your elementary. In the live-attend analysis, this is what comes in real handy. What Matt does, he geocodes the students, puts them back in their home attendance area, and it tells us who in that area goes someplace else and who lives someplace else and goes to that school. So basically what this has done, it quite literally has dropped systematic error in forecasting down to below 2%. We don't have to guess anymore. We've got all the kids back in their home area. Now, one of the assumptions in this, and Lynn had a long discussion with this, we hold your transfer rates constant. Because you got you got magnet programs, you got students going different programs, different schools and all that. We hold them constant for one key reason. The changes you see, the enrollment, are due to your demographic factors only, not to any policy changes. So if you do make a policy change, you add a charter school someplace, or you stop charter and then let them age out someplace else, you need to add or subtract that to the forecast results. Okay. That was what we call it, an administrative change. And this is the live attend analysis for the district. And the green diagonal numbers are the students that both live in and attend in that attendance area. So for Allen, of the 931 students in the school, 823 are ones who also live there, okay? And you can see what individual attendance areas they come from, so that's how we can put them back in their home attendance areas. So this is, and from my side, this is invaluable information. You can't correlate the demographic trends without having the exact number of people in that area. Then one for the middle school and one for the high school, same principle applies. Now, at this juncture, I start building the models, and for migration, I depend on Internal Revenue Service migration data. Been around since 1990. We have all 27 years downloaded our computers for every county in the United States, plus the Wisconsin data set too. Very simple. When you do your taxes every year, you put down your residence. If your residence changes county, the Internal Revenue Service puts you into the migrant file, okay? And sum them all up. So if you're living in Mecklenburg in one year, you live in Cabarrus the next, you're a migrant. The household is basically the returns. The exemptions is the number of persons. They give us the incomes. We can calculate both mean household income and number of persons per household. And this is very important data because everybody in the district knows there's just a ton of people pouring in here from Mecklenburg County. Okay, this quantifies it per year. Okay. If it's a flow of more than 10 households, they'll list what county you're going to or coming from. So now for the most recent data, 2016, for Cabarrus County, not surprisingly, there's 15,000 people moving in. There's also 11,000 people moving out. That's why you get, again, both sides of the equation. So the net is 4, okay? Big sender, not surprisingly, Mecklenburg. The big receiver is also Mecklenburg. Most migration is short distance, despite what you see in the popular press. Most people, when they move, don't move more than 7,500 miles. Tend to be very, very short distance, and tends to be in major metropolitan areas. This is the next is a chart looking at what the both the in and the out migration is over the last 5 years for the county. And you'll notice it's been rather healthy, 2,000-3,000 per year coming in, net coming in. Now, think about migration. Most of your in-migrants are between the ages of 0 to 9, 25 to 45 years old. Makes sense, you think about it. Young families moving in with their kids. Your biggest out-migration flow is people 18 to 24 years old. And the second biggest flow is over 70, okay? Now, 18 to 20. What's happening here is Cabarrus County is suffering from what I refer to as the curse of the successful school district. You know what the curse is? High grades. We saw a lot of it today with the award ceremony. You know, high test scores, high grades, high success level. What, 82% of your students go on to post-secondary education? Very, very high number. And they go off to college and they don't come back. The people who are moving into Cabarrus County are not, as a rule, people who grew up here. Now, you're going to hear exceptions to that. John and Mary didn't like the big city when they come back to good old Cabarrus County. But it was a great way to test my theory. This year, the classes of 2013, 08, and 03 are having their 5, 10, and 15-year reunions. Go to the reunions, talk to the alumni, and see how many of them still live in the district. If it's 20%, you're doing real well, okay? And for every 2 high school seniors that move away and don't come back, you need 1 new household to move in just to replace their fertility, okay? That's the downside, is the way it's going up. Now, right now, you're doing real well. The problem is you have bigger high school classes graduating out, substantially bigger over the next 10 years. Your out-migration flow is going to go up. I know this. Why? Because you're going to be graduating about, 20, 30% bigger senior classes every year. It has to go up. They're going to go off to college. Okay? So even if the inflow stays the same, which it won't, the net's going to be dropping because the outflow's going up. So that bottom line there showing what the net effect is going to be, I know that's going to turn down just because you're going to have more people leaving. Building permits, we have this over the years, and this is one I find fascinating, okay? And this is where I think a lot of the confusion in the general population is too. Your building has made a wonderful comeback since 2010, okay? Probably tripled from the low. No denying that. Much, much stronger new housing market than 2010. Problem, it's still only half what it was 10 years ago, okay? So, and when you had that big wave come out the last decade before the housing bust, they came out, brought their kids with them, their preschoolers, maybe even had a couple when they got out here. Those kids are now in middle and high school. That first wave came out on a very low base. Your new comeback wave here is on a big base. You've got as many kids. The analogy I use is a bucket of water, okay? If I have a bucket of water, and I'm pouring water in the top, there's a hole in the bottom. As long as I'm pouring in faster, it's going out, the bottom level will rise. But if the hole in the bottom of the bucket gets bigger, and it's going out faster than I'm pouring in, even if I'm pouring at the same rate, level will drop. That's what's happening, okay? Yeah, you're pouring in at a faster rate, but the hole in the bottom of the bucket's getting bigger because they're graduating up. They don't stay here forever, okay? So even with the precipitous rise in new home construction compared to 2010, yeah, it's still pretty good inflow. But now you've got the people that came 10, 15, 20 years ago aging out. Their kids are leaving, they're not. They're becoming empty nest households, which is why that's going to be your fastest growing household type in the next 10 years. Each area has a population forecast. This is the one for the district total, okay? Now there's 2 ways to read this. You can look at a cohort or an age group through time, 5 to 9. 2010, it's 12,394, going to 13,390, 14,840, see it going up. Or you can follow a cohort through time. The 0 to 4 in 2010 are 5 to 9 and 15, are 10 to 14 in 2020, and are 15 to 19s in 2025. You always see that drop in 15 to 19 because basically your 19-year-olds, part of your 18-year-olds are off in college by that point. You'll notice a dearth of people in their 20s, even with your large amount of apartment building in the last couple of years. Most people here, are homeowners, and they're going to come in their 30s. And across the bottom, median age, very, very key variable. 36.5 in 2010. We have forecasted going to almost about 39.4 in 2025. Now the middle columns in between are what we call the components of change. Birth, which drops slightly, not due to any drop in the fertility rate, mind you, again, it's due to a decline in the number of women in prime childbearing age. The deaths go up rather dramatically, again, not due to a change in death rates, but just because of the age structure. Natural increase, hitting for ZPG here in 2025, where you have the same number of births as deaths. Net migration stays strong over the whole 10-year period. You still have an in-migration flow, but you're going to have a declining natural increase. And the change does decline because of that drop in natural increase. So for each one of these areas, the results of the population forecast will then drive the enrollment forecast. And again, this is at the district level, okay? So for the 10 years of the forecast, we have the district going from 32,521 to 33,947, not quite 34%, okay? And again, my bucket of water analogy, what's going on? Why is it slowing down so much? This big cohort's going through. We'll go through the 3 levels. Over the last 4 years in elementary, your 5th grade class has averaged about 2250, all right? Over the next 10 years, they're going to average about 2550. And it's about, 200 to 300 more per year on average. So what's going to happen is, if you're going to keep that same growth rate going, you would need to keep the same number of households coming in, plus an extra 200 to 300 more every year to keep that trajectory. No area can do that. So you start to see that curvilinear trend and then the flattening. But even with that, at the elementary level, 14,370, you're still looking at 14,000. You basically flatten after 2027, or 2022, pardon me. So basically, the in-migration will match out in the cohort sizes. What it does is it creates a wave going through your middle school and your high school. Hence, your middle school goes up by 600 students, and more importantly, your high school goes up by 1,200 students. And from the demographic point of view, actually, the high school increase is of most concern to me, at least. And the reason for that is 80% of that increase are kids that already live in the district. They could stop building, stop in-migration today. You'd still see 1,000 student increase, just with bigger cohorts going through your grades into your high school. That's pretty much a lead pipe cinch. Now, the other thing, we've held your high school dropout rates constant over the last 5-year average. We do that for all districts, standard procedure. But like most school districts, you have an aggressive student retention program. Hopefully it will be successful. Let's say it is. Let's say you reduce your high school dropout rate 0.5% per year over the next 6 years. If that's the case, and again, this will be one of those scenario forecasts, Mr. Holter, where you do something like that, that 11,700 number is probably closer to 12,300, okay, because you're holding on to more students, okay. We do that for some districts that ask for it, if we are successful, how much more space we're going to need. But just on your demographics alone, you're looking at 1,200 more high school students. And again, that will not be evenly distributed across the county, or across the school district, I should say, pardon me. Questions?
Any questions, board members? We can go into the summary. Are you going to go down through the summary findings?
Nope.
Okay. We can read that on our
I
own.
was going to. Basically, we wanted to kind of go over, this is how it's done, this is what the results show, and this is why it's like that. So, I figured that was punishment enough. I guess the one summary I would say is, number one, the fact that your fertility rates, resident fertility rate's 1.93, 0.2 of a point below replacement level. So, even with that, you're just not going to have enough kids. And that might be the number one thing. Left to your own demographic devices, there's just not enough births in the district to, well, quite simply, your first grade cohort is 2,300. Don't have 2,300 births every year in the district. The difference must be made up with immigration. Some attendance areas are successful in doing that, and some are not.
Mr. Harrison, you've got to get a question?
Do I have that look on my face?
You do.
Just hopefully a quick question.
Okay.
Is this a living document? If assumptions A, B, and C have been made, and those are stable for X period of time, is this document updated, or is this 10-year plan we talk about, is it updated at certain phases, or is it static when it's finished, and then we're flying, even though some of the assumptions will have changed?
That's a good question, and I'll try to give an equally short answer, okay? The real short answer is I will call up Lynn probably October, get your one, we do this for all of our districts anyway, and she'll send us your 45-day numbers. We do an evaluation. At the district level, plus or minus 2%, that's our band, okay? You know, I'm not even arrogant enough to say it's going to be that number of kids that year, okay? So if the assumptions are not being violated, you should be in that band. At the school level, it's plus or minus 3.5%. It's a bigger percentage because you're a smaller number, bigger base, so you have a wider gap there. And then we'll also do it by individual grade as well for the district. And we'll be checking, okay, are any of the assumptions being violated in any one of the attendance areas, things like that. And if they're not, you're in good shape. Usually we're within like 0.5% or something. Now, what we have to also do is you make an administrative change, like you move one of your, any one of your programs, one school to the other, you need to add or subtract that from the forecast to make it an actual evaluation. Now, say the 30-year fixed rate goes to, and we'll do this for the first 3 years too. Now, if something has, a big one I could think of is the state says, we're not going to implement House Bill 13. That's going to be a game changer. You would need to do something different on that. Or the economy collapses. Or Amazon HQ2 goes up the road here. You know, something like that. Both positive or negative.
I'm glad you don't have a crystal ball.
Closer to home, one of your big developers that are coming in on the west sides go belly up and don't put these 800 houses in. That would be a violation of the assumptions as well.
So the data is being updated on a periodic
basis. We're going to track it all the way through, okay? Now, we had a school district up in Indiana last year, Crown Point, smaller than yours, but we had forecasted 12,248 students 2 years in, and this last year they had 12,248 students hit around the nose. And it's the worst thing that ever happened in my career, because now the board expects that same level of accuracy in all subsequent forecasts. You know? So this year I'm going to be up by about 9 or 10, so they're already giving me hell on it. So
precision is a curse.
Absolutely.
It really is.
You're only as good as your last forecast. So. But yeah, we're going to keep trying. We'll keep an eye on it. So.
Okay, Mr. Walter, any questions?
Heather, have you looked at the ORAD study, and how does your methodology differ from what we saw before?
I don't look at theirs. They use cohort survival. They have no demographers.
Say that again. They do what?
They use cohort survival.
Okay.
It's the methodology. That's that survivorship methodology that has been the standard for years. Basically, people who don't have any background in demography will use that.
Okay.
I don't look at anybody else's survey or in a study beforehand. I do my own independently. I wouldn't want to incorporate anybody else's errors in my own work.
I don't know if this is even going to be a factor in, but it was just on TV last night. Maybe I shouldn't watch TV. But they were just talking about it, and I know we're hearing about it all the time, how grandparents, people my age, are having to take care of their children. Are you factoring that in? Because they did time after time and talking about how this is happening because the parents are taking drugs and they're having to raise their children. Are you factoring that in?
Well, that's interesting. We call that something generically called the USA Today effect. Because if it's on the news, by God, it's happening everywhere. It's going to overrun our district. Okay. Are there grandparents out there that are having to raise their kids? Absolutely. Is it a growing number? No doubt. It's doubled. It's gone from 1% to 2% in the last 7 years.
So it's not that big.
2%, not big. The other example I use on that is like the total fertility rate. Now, I can go out in the district and I can guarantee you I can find women out there who've had 5, 6, 7 kids, you know. Do I want to generalize that to the entire school district? No. Most women here with kids have 2 to 3. Yet there are women out there with 5, 6, 7 kids. So just because something's out there happening, you have to, what's the prevalence of it? What's the probability of it happening, you know? And in suburban school districts like this, higher socioeconomic status, not that often. Is it out there and a problem? Yeah. Is it growing? Yeah, it's going up, but it's such a small proportion of the housing units, you know? I can't think of a place like, yep, you guys are going to go up because your empty nesters are going to be raising their grandkids because they're drug-induced kids. They'd run me out of town for saying that, you know? So it's, one thing, it's not true. But you hit the right point, though, because empty nest is going to be your fastest growing housing unit. You know? And most people don't expect their kids to come home and live in their basement, which is another trend I hear all the time. Well, the kids are coming home because they can't find apartments to live with their parents. Sure, that's a temporary situation. Happened to my sister, happened to my wife's cousins and all that. They came home and all that. It's a temporary situation. After about 4 weeks, they start getting each other's nerves. The parents start putting one ads and apartment openings in the refrigerator, things like that. You know, and if you do come back, hey, we're going to live in your basement. We're going to start a family too. No, it happens, but it's so rare. You know, are they going to be there for the life course? You know, they're going to stay going to college or high school or just, stay there for a couple of years or whatever. It happens, but it's so rare. My son graduates college this September. He'll be lucky to, or this December, he'll be lucky if I leave him a foreign address, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not moving
I
to
hate
my
to interrupt
basement.
you, but we have a lot to cover yet in our
I'm
meeting
sorry,
tonight.
it's poor professors do that.
Ms. Carpenter, anything else?
No, that was the main thing.
Okay, I watched that report as well.
Yeah.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes. Using this data, we've just gone through a 10-year study on where we headed and what kind of structures we'll need to support. And, we've got a new high school coming online, which I know will be a part of the realignment that you'll be looking at later on. But we're now trying to forecast how many more structures do we need, new structures, but at the same time we have to do replacement structures. So there's a
good point. And I promised, ma'am, a short answer. Okay, get 2 things going on here. Your enrollment's flattening. Okay, your growth is slowing down dramatically over the last 10 years. Some middle school, some high school, and all that, but in elementary, it's basically flattening out. That will wind up in the news tomorrow. What you have to remember is, thanks to House Bill 13, you just lost 1,800 seats. But they didn't realize when they passed that law, they shrank every elementary school in the state. Now, Stanley County is happy because they would have had to close a couple elementaries, don't have to now. You guys who are still growing and still catching up to the growth you've had the last 8 years, it makes it a challenge. So you're doing 2 things. The analogy is they moved the goalpost, they changed the field and made the fields 1,800 seats smaller. At the same time, you're going through different demographic trends at different paces throughout the district. So you're trying to hit a moving target and a moving field at the same time.
but we should try to keep our eye on the ball as far as you've given us a band that we'll be in. And it looks like we're not going to exceed that 35,000 band, at least based on the assumptions that you've provided to us. And
Even without House Bill 13, your recent elementary and high school is catch-up. That's not, you're not even addressing growth of the last couple of years, it's going to come in the next few years. So we're building for growth. No, you're building to catch up. It's like the roads. They're not expanding the roads here, for more growth. They're just trying to catch up. So it's not a parking lot around here most days.
But so as we catch up, though, probably in the next 5 years, we hopefully will probably be at the point where we might have caught up. Is that a reasonable?
Well, the elementary, maybe. Middle school, high school, that's different. You got 600 and 1,200 coming in more. So by 2027, it's still going to be tight. Because you're not awash with a whole lot of extra space around here.
Right. Yeah, I just, as we formulate our 10-year plan and we start talking to our commissioners who are feeling the crunch of the cash need, you know, you have to provide them a logical, okay, we still haven't met the need
True.
at this point.
And to the district's benefit is the fact your new elementary, your new high school are being built in the right places. I can't tell you how many school districts I've worked with where they built buildings in the absolute wrong place, which is disastrous. Because the dynamics of an area, demographic dynamics, will turn over every 15, 20 years. When you put a building up, you're stuck with it there for 60, 70, 80 years. You can't move it around. And another time when we're now all tired, I can give you a legion examples of school districts that have really come back and haunted 20 years later with some really poor planning site decisions of where they put the schools. That's, you can be real careful with it. These two, they're in the right place. You did well. Good job on that one.
Anything else? Mr. Harrison, anything else?
No, ma'am.
Dr. Kirk?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Norris, any questions or comments? Okay, so anything else, Ms. Reimer? We're all set for tonight?
I think so.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I love the data. I did look through a lot of it ahead of time, but very fascinating.
One thing I would say, I probably shouldn't say this, but.
Ms. Reimer, if you, since we're on tape here.
Is that, I think for so long we've discussed growth, and I think his statements at the end there were very telling that while we may kind of level off with our growth, we're still not caught up yet. And I think that's Mr. Shoemaker's point as well, as far as we look at our 10-year plan, and we'll obviously with all this data go back and revisit everything, but we're still well behind the curve with space and stuff. So I just wanted to say, he did make those comments, and when I first heard and saw the report, I was doing exactly what you were doing. Oh, wow, we're not growing, but we're still, we got to catch up. So that's my last point. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cropper, Dr. McKibben. We appreciate you. And I'm fascinated because for as long as I can remember, which is a long time, we have always focused on the building units projected and when they're permitted. And this takes into fact so many more data points that makes it more reasonable to say, yes, we're going to float in that 2% band or whatever. So look forward to seeing the process progress. Thank you. We are now at the point of board chair comments. I don't have anything to add this evening. Dr. Louder, I'll turn it over to you.
I want to begin by once again congratulating all of our students and staff who were recognized at tonight's meeting. Again, just take a minute, and I know that we were here a while recognizing them, but it really was a stunning amount of accomplishment tonight when you talk about full scholarships, military appointments, Ivy League acceptances, state championships, community service, arts, senior leadership, CTE awards. I mean, really just an unbelievable community and an unbelievable school system with great teachers. So it really is something we should stop and say, wow, it really was incredible. We want to say congratulations to Kate Colbreth, our District Teacher of the Year for 2018-19. We celebrated all of our Teacher of the Year late last month at the Davis Theater. Kate teaches English Language Arts at Wolf Meadow Elementary School. We also want to say thank you to our Teacher of the Year celebration sponsors. Their generosity helped to make the event extra special for all of our teachers. We especially want to thank our Golden Apple sponsors, which were AXA Advisors, the Cabarrus County Education Foundation, the Charlotte Automobile Dealers Association, Concord Mills Mall, Great Wolf Lodge, Miriam and Robert Hayes Charitable Trust, and the Sea Life in Concord. Last week, we celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week. Just want to say thank you to more than 2,000 teachers in our school district. You're making a difference in students' lives every day. We thank you for choosing such a difficult job and for doing it so well. We also celebrated school nurses last week with National School Nurse Day. School nurses contribute to student health and learning every day. We're fortunate by the forward thinking of our former superintendent and school boards that we have school nurses in all of our buildings. Lots of districts can't say that. Our long-standing partnership with Cabarrus Health Alliance is invaluable and one that is envied by many school systems across the state. We just heard a lot about the realignment committee. We do want to remind everyone that the work has begun. Cropper GIS is leading it. Committee members were selected from more than 100 applicants. We appreciate the community's interest in this important work. Information about the committee can be found on our district website. Select the realignment committee information icon located on the right-hand side of the page. The public is invited to attend and observe the committee sessions. Feedback sessions are also planned for later in the process to allow parents and community members to share their thoughts and concerns to ask questions. And just to reiterate what some people have already said, it certainly has changed some of our thinking and projections. I think, as you said before, just to kind of pile, I think what Dr. McKibben says is just pile growth on top of the current numbers is not really a great projection. So we've certainly revised some of our stuff, and I hope that you can see with the amount of data had that this is information that we just simply could not have done internally. So we appreciate the board's support in choosing that group. Graduation season is upon us. We will begin celebrations of the class of 2018 on May 19th, so this coming Saturday, as students from Cabarrus Kannapolis Early College High School earn their diplomas. And some will also receive their associate's degree from Rowan Cabarrus Friday at the RCC graduation. Remaining high school graduations are set for June 8th and 9th. Visit our graduation website, information for all things graduation. Finally, I want to remind everyone about the school calendar change that our board changed last week. This Wednesday, May 16th, is now an optional teacher workday. Students will not be required to make up that day. We received absence requests from approximately 25% of our teaching staff for that day, many of which are going to attend the March for Students and Rally for Respect in Raleigh. With that many teachers absent, we're not able to ensure proper supervision and classroom instruction, so we made that calendar change. Just want to make sure families are aware. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Lowther, and I want to confirm with Ms. Monroe, do we have any speakers signed up? Okay. So in agenda item number 7.01, the guest speakers to address the board, we do have in the agenda the statement in accordance with board policy 2310, a part of each business meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board through public comment. There are other details in there. Since we do not have any speakers, I will not read that. Is that okay, Mr. Schwartz? So we will move on to number 8.01, approval of the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve? Dr. Kirk made the motion to approve. Mr. Harrison makes the second. Included in there are our budget amendment comments, policies on first reading, and as noted earlier, policy 3530 was pulled off of consent, and we'll get an update on that for first reading in a few moments. So all in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented? Please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Next, we have the action agenda, 9.01, the approval policy 4700, student records on first reading.
That is Ms. Carpenter's favorite policy, and
It is.
therefore it is on action tonight.
Ms. Furtenbauer, I make a motion, we pass the pass the policy 4700 as written.
Thank you, Mr. Shoemaker. Is that Dr. Kirk? Made the second. Any discussion, board members?
As someone just stated, the reason that I do not vote for 4700 is actually the makeup, why some of the things that are listed under 4700, and that is a FERPA thing, which is we have the option to put whatever we want under there. In other words, we can say we want to have the name, we want to have the address, we want to have, this board makes the decision what we want listed under that. And I do not agree with some of the items we have listed under this. So this is why I feel so strongly. I think we have too much information. So this is the reason that you will always see me vote no on this. So this is why I'm stating this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. And we understand that, and it's good that we can appreciate
we all have
your
one
thoughts.
vote.
Yes, we all, that's right, we all have one. Okay, so board members, any other comments? I'll take a motion that we approve. I'm sorry, I was going down. All in favor of approving first reading on 4700, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay, so the vote is 5-1 with Mrs. Carpenter's dissenting. Thank you. Yeah, I was jumping ahead to 3530 already. Okay, Ms. Reimer, Ms. Burns?
Yes, so 3530 was a recommended change from our attorneys, basically putting a statement in there, including the school's plan for student behavior management under the policy 4302, as well as the link to that policy. Again, that came from our attorneys, and that's the reason why we moved that to action.
Okay, so otherwise, the red font is what we saw last week?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I would make a motion that, now this is the first read on this?
First reading.
Okay, do we need to make a motion, or will it automatically go to second?
No, we need to pass it under first reading, so. make a
Okay,
motion.
I make a motion, we approve 3530.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Dr. Kirk, Ms. Carpenter made the motion, Dr. Kirk made the second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that policy passes on first by 6-0. Next, we have 9.03. I think we finished up policies quickly there. Because I was thinking there was going to be one more. 9.03, approval of the request to release budgeted funds for West Cabarrus High School. And Ms. Klutz, I don't know if there will be any questions or not. We are requesting that the commissioners release $860,000 from the contingency. You see in the agenda there that you have the calculation. We do not have the change orders for all of that money yet, but understanding that we don't want to go to the commissioners every month, we ask that the staff put in the kind of worst-case scenario, certainly hoping we won't need to spend it all. So, any questions?
Just one. We've already had a conversation with the county on this, and this is a direction that they also asked us to go, to kind of help out so they wouldn't get nickel and dimed for every change order that might come down.
So we had a conversation with them on May the 7th. We presented this information to them, and they will vote on the 21st. We certainly expressed our concern about going back multiple times.
But you seem to get encouraging, it seemed to be encouraging that they would support this.
I mean, I don't want to speak for them. I'm not
Okay.
not sure that I'm getting that.
Okay.
They did agree to, I'll say, put it on their agenda. So,
Sure.
there have been times in the past where they did not even agree to put it on their agenda. So they did agree to put it on their agenda. I think there's an understanding that we are on the clock with this school, and with the realignment study, everything else going on, we need to open it on time, so.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
That we approve this.
She make a motion, Mr. Harrison made the second. Any further discussion?
And Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was originally what was, approved for the contingency, and we're just basically asking them to release what was originally proposed. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. When we set this budget, when we had a planning budget well over a year ago, the contingency, we always build a contingency in that planning budget. This number has been there since that time. We have then since drawn, this will be our second draw, what I call is a draw or a contingency. So it's certainly no surprise. And the contingency amount we have for this project is a small 2%. And that is a small number for this size of construction project.
And again, we're just asking, we just want them to release it to us, but it's not like we're saying, ooh, this is something additional that we
Right.
want. Is that correct?
It's not that it wasn't planned for. It was certainly in the plan and in the discussion from some time ago.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes 6-0. Moving to item 9.04, the approval of the Cabarrus County Schools Title I plan. We have Ms. Oliphant coming back to see if we have any questions.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we pass the Title I plan as presented to us.
I had a quick question.
Oh.
Okay, we'll do discussion. Let's do a second.
That's okay, second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Shoemaker, a second by Dr. Kirk, and Mr. Walter.
Okay, we're adding another school, is that correct? So what percentage, so the schools that currently have Title I funds are going to lose funds for next year?
If you would
right?
turn the mic on there.
What percentage are they losing? Or is it different per school?
It ranges for the schools because they're in rank order of their free and reduced lunch percentages, so it's going to be determined by their percentages.
So is this harming programs that they have in place now that they won't be able to afford next year, or is it, you know, I mean, that was part of the discussion we had a year ago against adding other schools, because it was taking away from the existing programs, but.
For the most part, it's not going to take away from existing programs. Most of the schools receive enough funding that they're able to juggle things enough to still be able to maintain. Maybe they may cut back a little bit on professional development or cut back on a little bit of supplies and resources, but for the most part, they have enough to maintain their programs.
But you're comfortable that in the best interest of all our students, this is the way to go, is to add the additional
I
schools?
am. Adding Bethel is going to allow us to support about 600 more students in addition to the 11 schools we already had.
Okay, I think that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor of approving the Title I plan for 2018-19, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Next, we have the 9.05, the approval of the school nutrition program breakfast and lunch price increases for 2018-19.
Move to accept. I had a couple of questions for that, too.
I'm sorry, was there a motion?
Move to accept.
Okay, Dr. Kirk made the
Second.
motion. Do I have a second, Mr. Shoemaker? Okay, now for discussion or questions?
Did we ever figure out what the percentages were of our free and reduced lunch, students actually eating lunch?
Mr. Roberts, you requested that last Monday, and starting on Tuesday, we went into full mode of trying to prepare for this coming Wednesday. All we've been trying to work on in school nutrition is getting lunches to, on the buses and out to the neighborhoods on Wednesday. So
Which is
I will tell you, I'll take responsibility for that. It's been deferred. But I will have that for you within a couple weeks. That's a massive project.
Yeah, I understand that, but so my understanding again is the government is telling us we have to raise these prices, or we'll be out of compliance. Is that right? 'Cause
Yes, sir.
For some reason, last year we got a waiver, but this year we cannot.
Correct. You will be out of compliance. The government has requested a 20% rate, 20% 20 cent increase, but we are able to do that in increments of 10, so we can go down to the 10 cent. We will not be in compliance with their regulations if we do not raise the price of the lunch.
So are we taking steps so this doesn't happen next year, that we can
I
meet the
can't make-
requirements for that?
I can't make that guarantee. I can say this to you, that we like to have 3 months of operating balance. If the federal government closes, which we have had several times that we've had those issues, we need to be able to buy food and feed our children. So the goal is to have 3 months operating balance. Right now, we have 2.2.
And part of that was if we can get more kids that are on the free and reduced lunch to actually eat the lunch, we get a better reimbursement. Is that right?
That is correct.
Mr. Walter, I'd like to add that when we have enough balance to be at that level, to be exempt from this, what happens is then you have to use that balance because the price increase offsets the expenses that would normally go up.
Mhm.
So if you don't increase, then your only option is to use your savings account, which is your sunk fund balance.
Right.
Then, therefore, it goes down and you don't have that option the next year. So the only way to maintain your 3 months of operating balance is to increase your prices.
Or have more people eat the lunch that we get the reimbursement for. So
Probably not going to do that much. It's not going to have
It'll
that
help, but
significant,
it'll help
that
out.
significant of an increase.
I mean, we still have, 58% of our students actually pay the full price for the lunch, and it's at least $450 just for the lunch itself for a year's worth. So you're basically averaging, you're increasing the price per student by about $17, the way I calculated it. $34 if they eat breakfast and lunch. So that does impact, especially families with lots of kids. It's an increase, and we've been increasing, I guess, several years in a row. I think it's $1 more than it was when my kids started school. But anyway, I understand that. And my last question had to do about these a la carte prices. Does that change anything on those? Are those going up as well?
At this time, a la carte prices will remain static.
Okay, thank you.
Didn't you say that it could cost us if we got our hand slapped? I mean, that's just a nice way to put it. If we did get if they come back on us, it could cost us 8-point-something million dollars. I mean, but it was a big number.
It's close to $8 million. a
Oh,
little
so
bit
I
over.
was
Yeah, you are
right.
correct. In
Okay,
terms of
that
federal
if
reimbursements,
they got mad at us and.
they could freeze it and say, we're not paying, we're not going to reimburse you.
It would be
Yes.
about $8 million. So to me, this is, I mean, I don't like to raise prices because I do think about the people that, with the larger families. It's not something that I really encourage, and I don't like somebody to tell me I've got to do something, but in this case, $8 million, that's, Kelly would get upset with me, and I don't want to make that Kelly mad, so.
Me either.
That would not make her happy.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the school nutrition program breakfast and lunch price increases for 18-19, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, the motion passes 5-1 with Mr. Walter dissenting. Okay, so now we're down to 9.06, legal services. And I will tell you, when Ms. Monroe asked me what the motion should be, I said, I'm going to give you a menu of motions. So, and these are really just to prompt some discussion and conversation. So I will tell you that after talking with Mr. Swartz earlier today, his firm is not interested in a 6-month contract. They are interested in a year or multi-year contract if we continue with them. So the other thing I'd like to add is I did talk with Jay White from Hartsell and Williams on Saturday, I guess it was. And he is in agreement to continue. He did send me a message today in writing that they would like to continue under the same terms, if that is our pleasure. So I will, I guess, open the floor for comments, considerations. I know maybe Mr. Shoemaker, do you want to start since you did some analysis? Is there anything you would like to share?
Well, I haven't had a chance to complete all the analysis, but right now, I would recommend that we can extend the contract for a year and that we go to 1/10 of an hour, but that section H that Brian Shaw Mr. Shaw had sent to us this week, I think everyone got a hold of that. That did change the retainer to 5,000.
Well, it was changing regardless of the per hour or the partial hour rate.
But I was going to finish.
Okay, yeah.
And so, but it did raise the hourly rate from the original offer of 170 to 180, but then reduced the amount of billing to the 1/10 of an hour, which
Can
I
we
feel
put that on
like,
screen?
which I feel will even out. Also, we shouldn't see a huge in a transition period as we were at the beginning of the year, or the beginning of this fiscal year, in the July, August, and September timeframe when we were trying to transition over. And I think that we saw some higher bills during that transition period. So that's where my mind is at this point. Right now, I don't think the board should entertain changing or going out for an RFP for anything, because we've got a lot on our plate for this year, and I think that that would just muddy the waters for us to go down a path like that.
I will second that. If you put that in form of a motion, I will second you on that, and then if we get into some discussion, there was one other thing I'd like to add, but that, I like that what you've got with the, what was that? Was that H? Wasn't that H?
Yeah, well, I will make a formal motion, Ms.
Okay.
Carpenter. My motion would be that we would entertain
For a year.
level H on the Schwartz and Saw, and I'll make all of it into one motion, that we'll entertain level H. And this isn't the revised one, though.
No, I was just going to point that out. The
Yeah.
difference between H that's up on the screen right now and the one that Brian sent on May 10 is the hourly rate would be $180, and it would be billed in tenth of an hour increments instead of quarter-hour increments.
And that was, so that's what I was stating, and then I would like to combine with that we would continue our relationship with Hartsel and Williams.
Why don't we do a separate motion?
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
I was just
I think
trying to
it'll
get
just
it
be
all done.
cleaner.
Okay.
So-
Okay.
Well, that's my motion to go with Section H as revised this week by Mr. Shaw and as articulated by Mr. Schwartz.
Okay, if you, let's
So,
use motion 2 that's underneath,
Which one?
where it says if Schwartz and Shaw renewed,
Okay.
moved and seconded that existing Schwartz and Shaw, and you can see the rest of it there. I just
Okay.
left blanks for,
My motion is that we renew Schwartz and Shaw and that the existing Schwartz and Shaw contract be amended based on the rate chart using option H for the billing period of $180 per hour, monthly hourly rate of 1/10, right? 1/10 of an hour or 6 minutes. Float your boat.
yeah, and with the non-retainer, yeah, I'm sorry, of the 180, okay.
Yep.
So we
So I
have,
have H, $180 an hour, and I have the retainer rate of 1/10, I guess that non-retained hourly rate of 1/10 of an hour.
no, it's the 1/10, the billing time period is 1/10 of an hour.
May I
The
suggest something?
second clause.
Okay.
It might be easier to simply say approve option H as contained in the proposal dated May 10, 2018.
That's the original motion.
Okay, so Barry, is that good with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, as long,
Option H.
that's why I refer to Mr. Shaw's,
Yeah.
since we don't have that here on the screen. But yeah, that would suffice, and then we would extend that for a year through June 30th, 2019.
And I will second that, and there was only one discussion matter I wanted to.
Okay, let me just get, so Mr. Shoemaker was a motion, Ms. Carpenter was a second. Now discussion, Ms. Carpenter?
Yeah, there's only one thing that I wanted to discuss, only one thing that I wanted to discuss. I know that the attorney had been doing the minutes of our closed sessions, and I know that that had been an additional expense. And one of the things, I know that clerks all across the state of North Carolina, I know that the clerk, like for commissioners, do not do that. And I know that our current clerk will be retiring soon. And I think that we should just let our clerk do our minutes of our closed session. And that would be a cost that we would not have to incur. And like I say, I know clerks across the whole state do their own closed session minutes. And I think that we need to.
Is that in their contract, or is that just?
And that's what I didn't know, and I wanted to make sure that was not in the contract, but we need to have that done.
It's not a contract, but Mr. Schwartz can speak to that, but.
When we became your attorneys, we were advised that that was your method of practice and that we were expected to keep doing that. And so we've done that. We'll be more than happy to not do that.
Well, and like I say, I don't think it's necessary. I mean, that's just, to me, an added expense we don't need. And like I say, it's something that I know all other clerks have always done, and I just think it's unnecessary for a attorney to do that. I'm just making a
That's at the pleasure of the
statement.
board.
Okay, I would suggest is not related to.
Well, I didn't know if it was
Yeah.
in the contract.
No, it's.
And that's the reason that I made the statement right now, because I didn't know if it was added into the
I
contract.
think the policy says that falls on the superintendent, you can delegate it to.
Right, because the board clerk is actually the employee of the superintendent. Service to the board, but the employee of the superintendent. So I would suggest, because Ms. Monroe will be retiring, although we may not let her go, we'll decide, but
Well,
we can vote no on that one.
But since that position is, it needs
Yeah.
to be specified, but I know it's done all across the
Yeah.
state.
So how about if we wait until Dr. Louder proceeds through the posting hiring cycle, and then when he feels it's ready, we can entertain that again. So,
Madam Chair,
because there will be some transition period.
So I don't know quite how to ask this, and maybe it's a friendly motion or something, but we are, by this motion and second, extending for a year.
Yes.
So in 6 months, will we shop around for, or begin the process for this time next year to have some competitive process and bids?
Our policy, David, says that every year we evaluate our attorneys.
Yeah.
Just like we
True,
do the
but there's a
superintendent.
cycle of X number of months to get it all together and to
It's-
have it in
so
place
it's-
and to be lined up.
The dates are in the policy, David. March, I think, is the time
Yeah.
frame.
And I would suggest that we do the same kind of evaluation financially. We did see how this option H is working, review, because it was difficult to kind of watch the expenses because of the transition period. So there were ups and downs on it.
I was just kind of wondering, what's the mechanism to make sure we don't miss the window to have bids or to make some arrangement for year 2019-20?
Okay.
And
I'm
how to queue that up.
Ms. Monroe, would you please put on the recurring board calendar schedule that you keep, please put a note for us in February? I think that's probably when we need to. In January?
Because if you're going to do it, you got to kind of reconvene.
Stage it, yeah, yeah.
That's the word.
So in
Okay, so
January.
It says each year in March, the board
Well-
chair and superintendent shall conduct evaluation of the board attorney.
Well, and we can do that in March, but I think it took a while to get the information together and figure out what we wanted to talk about. It may even be thoughts for consideration on, well, you normally do a retreat in January, if we want to carve out 30 minutes to at least talk about expectations of the board for that evaluation, so. Okay, so I have a motion and a second on the floor. So all those in favor of extending Swartz and Shaw for 1 year through June 30th, 2019, using option H on the provided rate chart, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes 6-0. Second motion, I'll take a
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I may, a point of privilege. We appreciate the confidence of the board and look forward to working with you, and hope as time goes on, it becomes smoother and smoother every month, and I think it's been the case since we started. So thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we extend the contract with Hartzell and Williams for the period of 1 year to June 30th of 2019.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Carpenter made the motion, Mr. Walters seconded. Any discussion?
And this is the construction legal,
Yes.
construction legal services.
Same
the same
same
terms.
terms and conditions.
Same terms and conditions.
Also with the January, March
To
review cycle.
review, just same way.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes 6-0, and we are down to the end. I didn't think we'd ever get here. It was quite a long agenda tonight, knowing that we wanted to spend time on, obviously on the recognitions, those are the fun part, and then all the statistics and data, so. But anyways, thank you all for bearing with us.
Could I make one comment?
Yes,
real
ma'am.
quick? I would like to make one comment. There was a wonderful event this past Friday at Rowan Community College for our early college. They had the Genius Hour Expo, and this was where our students at early college got to showcase their projects that they had, and they had some wonderful, wonderful projects. They even had one of the young students, their project, they had a pony. And it was really great. But they each had to do a project, and one of them actually had received a grant from our Education Foundation for $400 to do a garden, to plant vegetables out. And they will get the students to help them plant the garden, and then the vegetables will be given to students that need food. And then if they have extra vegetables, they will actually give it to some of our local food banks. But they had to start some of them started businesses and they had to raise the funds. But it was a wonderful, wonderful event, and I told them they just didn't give me enough time to do all the things. But it was wonderful, and our students did an excellent, excellent job. So if they do it again next year, I just tell everybody to go. They just did an outstanding job.
Well, Ms. Carpenter, we're going to make you the unofficial but official social secretary for the board.
Well, it was really, like I say, I just told them they just didn't give me enough time, because they had, one young lady, she got dresses and redesigned them and then made them more fashionable and then gave them to girls that could not get prom dresses. I mean, it was all kinds of different projects. It was great, but I just wanted to give them a shout out.
And Madam
Very
Chair,
nice.
Madam Chair, may I have 32 seconds, please?
Yes, Mr. Harrison.
Just went to an event this weekend with one of the high schools' Bible Teaching Association, and that high school mentioned that they need $15,000 more to balance out the year, which I suspect is similar at other high schools. And if anyone out in the listening audience is inclined to think about and help the Bible teaching associations around the county, you may rest assured that generosity would be appreciated.
And if anybody is interested, they could contact any high school front office. I'm sure they would be glad to accept their donations. Okay, at this time, we will prepare to convene in closed session, and I will take a motion that the board convene in closed session pursuant to General Statute 143, 318, 11A3, to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged, and to consider the pending case of the Cabarrus County Board of Education versus trustees of the Teachers and State Employees Retirement System, and pursuant to General Statute 143, 318, 11A6, to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions, or appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee, or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee, to review personnel recommendations.
Second.
So motion by Dr. Kirk, seconded by Mr. Shoemaker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now in closed session. Thank you and good evening.